Yeah, what's up, man? How you doing?
Chilling,
Chilling.
looking at this water. You
So,
heard of that water experiment?
which water?
Japanese was scientist, I believe. He looked at the water. Oh, we were talking about this, right?
Yeah,
And,
like the secret.
and the water taking the shape of these different crystals.
Yeah, I think there's the movie called Secret, right? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, and basically whatever you say, like negative words or positive words to the water, it has the water reacts, differently.
That was in the secret?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, similar idea
yeah.
with the crystals and stuff.
Yeah. So I've been talking to my water.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Been writing words on the bottles and talking to them. It's crazy because it's plastic, though.
So, Ron, when like my impression of you when I first saw you, like when you walk in the room, I remember, it's just like nobody can ignore you pretty much. It's just you just come into a room and it just take over with the vibe, and everybody needs to be, like I would say like a positive vibe, and nobody can ignore that. You know what I'm saying?
That
When
is
you come in,
terrible. I try to be as low key as possible.
no, I mean the energy. You cannot hide that energy. When you walk in the room, you be like, "Wait, what's up? What's up?" Everybody is like a friend. Like, imagine there would be like this situation, right? Like everybody's sitting doing their work, and you just walk in, and just everything just dynamics change right away.
Oh, that's what's up,
yeah,
man.
everybody is just cheering up, and like everybody is chilling.
That
The
makes me
atmosphere
feel good.
changes, more positive and stuff like that. So that's cool, man.
That's
That's
what's
awesome.
up, bro. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Likewise, man. You're a good dude.
Yeah,
Now, you can get around. Sometimes you walk into a room. Like when I used to live in the hood, I'd walk into a room and you could automatically feel the opposite, right? And so it's like it's weird how it's unspoken, right? Like you don't even have to say anything. You go into a room where it's like it's a bunch of killers or a bunch of people who don't have the best intentions at the moment. Yeah, you can feel that vibe. And
Oh,
it's
you
like,
do?
Oh yeah, immediately, and it's like
And your idea of it, just try to discharge that energy, try to like smooth it out. Is that?
Well, I think at the time when I was younger, right? So it's like, well, I ain't scared, right? So you have this mentality that you need to just sit down and sit in it. But the common sense approach would probably be to get out of there.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes,
Yeah.
sometimes nothing happened, right? But then other times things do.
You
do
never
happen,
know.
right? Yeah. So I guess follow your gut instinct when you hit that. But you could definitely get the vibes, right?
Yeah, I mean, from my background, right? I also kind of grew up in the area like a hood type of deal, but we just didn't have guns. But they would be, like
Shanks.
someone would be like a shanks, yeah. So just shank you or like just beat you up straight up in there. So whenever you like go out on the streets, it's just like always that feeling that something might happen at any time. Someone would come up to you and try to attack you or like rob you of money or like try to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling like every time you go out and you just like, I don't know, like prepare yourself mentally and you make yourself mentally tough, even though maybe you're not that kind of a person,
Right,
just keep yourself always tough.
Yeah.
But you need to go up and you need to make sure like you're always like walking like this square up walk, and just be like looking mean and stuff.
You adapt to your environment, right? And same thing when you go outside the hood and you're in a more let's say affluent environment, or let's say there's a lot of wealth there. You go. There's been times like before, like certain areas before they got a little more diverse. It was you go into a restaurant with your buddy. It's like the music stops and everybody looks at you and you're like, okay, they don't want me here. Let me just eat and get out of here as quickly as possible, right? So if you pick it up anywhere you go, it doesn't matter whether it's the hood or it's anywhere. It's like you're saying. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. How do you feel about this? Like the whole thing are you like feeling a little bit more uncomfortable or?
Oh, you mean like the
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
I'll loosen up.
It's we'll listen up, right? Yeah, I hope we do.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for actually, having me here and like give me a chance, like talk to you on the podcast, so that's awesome.
Likewise, man.
Yeah, man. When I first met you, like I knew, like we would have some, good vibes.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, for sure.
That was cool. That was cool. So, even though like uh, while we're working, right, you're a manager,
Oh,
you're like
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
No, yeah, we can't. Unfortunately, I can't discuss anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about work, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like you still were like on a manager side, but still like you would always approach everybody as your equal, I guess.
Well,
So
we are.
that's cool. That's cool. We are equal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no like
Yeah.
hierarchy type of deal. So which I always appreciate. Like a lot of people, I guess, I don't know, distance themselves from other people by having this artificial hierarchy type of deal, and like they make you feel lower than themselves. So I don't know.
I
It's
think
just their vibe, I guess.
more so. I think, from my understanding, it's a form of protection, right? Like when you get, because people view things in so many different ways, right? Like you could look at, let's say, somebody who's not a manager, and they're talking to somebody who is, or a VP or whatever, director, whatever. Oftentimes, people want those spots, right? And they're vying for those spots. So there's often a lot of competitive spirit amongst successful people in certain arenas,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whether it's hip hop, whether it's any other type of business. And so sometimes they set traps, right? Or sometimes they may say things that aren't 100% authentic,
Yeah.
and so for somebody in those positions, they learn over the course. I'm guessing some certain situations they go through, they learn how to be a little more distant, as to not jeopardize some of the positions that they have, right? So I don't think it's anything where they're like better than you, or like there's a separation like that, but more so as for protection for one, the business, and then also for them personally as well, right? Reduce liability.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious about your life, man. Early life in New York. You say you were from Brooklyn, right?
No, no, no.
Was it Brooklyn?
I'm really actually from Jersey.
Ah, you're from Jersey. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because it's the same, right? We in New
Yeah.
York. I'm in Brooklyn. I used to record in Brooklyn heavy. I got family there. Same with Queens, right?
Oh, so you lived in Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I used to hang in Philly a lot too. Wild
Which is
times,
pretty
man.
close, right?
Yeah, they're all pretty close right there.
Yeah. So where did you live? Like your memories.
All right. So let's start it in Jersey. So I lived in a city called Irvington. You know the Outlaws from Tupac and the Outlaws? So yeah, so they from Mutan Mooney. They're from like Chancellor and Union, right?
Okay.
I believe. And then so I used to be out there right in between Chancellor and Union and Chancellor Stott was my school, and I lived down the street. And then so we would hang with the Chancellor and Stott guys. But I used to also go and play ball with the guys like on Chancellor and Union. Yo, that was crazy times, yo. It was crazy. Those times were crazy, bro. Like anything goes back in those days, man.
Okay.
It was nuts. Yeah, and then I went to this school called Irvington High. It was the high school, man. I saw somebody get chopped up on the steps with a machete.
Really?
Yeah, like live in action. It was crazy. And we had like metal detectors. So you ever see the movie called Lean On Me?
No.
Oh yeah, it was this dude. Morgan Freeman played this principal called Joe Clark. It's in the city called Passaic. Yeah, yeah. They used to call me Crazy Joe. Now they call me Batman. Now they had the chains on the doors. Yeah, it was.
So
like,
you said you saw a person that get chopped up by a machete?
Yeah, on the front steps of the school.
That's crazy.
It was nuts, man.
To the death, or
Nah, I don't know.
was he able to survive?
No, I think he probably survived. I think he was shaking. Oh, he was shaking. Yeah, it was nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was wild stuff going on back then, man. But there were no cameras like we have the cameras now. Now they'd have been like, where else? Whatever
Yeah.
website they use. But yeah, it was
So people could
eye-opening.
get away with stuff, right? A lot of times, like if they did it. I mean, like from law, or law wouldn't care too much.
No, I think the officers were extra aggressive back then, right? So even if you didn't do something, there's a chance you can get bumped for something, right? Like dude, it was crazy. Like law enforcement and just their approach to policing,
Yeah.
in those areas.
I can't even imagine so in terms of I would say like the dynamics between people. Is it more like gang against gang, or could it be like more, I guess, I don't know, racial type of deal, like Mexicans or no?
Nah,
No, it was more gang type
nah.
of
So,
no.
all
Mm-hmm.
right. So I gotta go back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So back in our day, in the hood, it eventually got to be gangs,
Okay,
right?
okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
before then, we would just cruise and cliques, and so like
Mm-hmm. Mm.
our crew, we might have had one or two white homies. Like my homegirl Megan, she actually died internal bleeding, right? But like we would be kind of mixed up. You had like Jamaicans, Haitians, Guyanese.
Mm-hmm.
You had Dominicans and Puerto Ricans.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll have clashes between the groups,
Okay.
right? But oftentimes everybody comes together to unify against outside forces, right? So like if our city was fighting against another city, you know what I'm saying, at the skate rink or whatever it was, then all of us come together. And then for me, I'm not really gangster like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I used to be able to hang with all different kinds of people because you
Mm-hmm.
think from a grade school growing up, you're in a situation where the majority of the city is in poverty,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's some sort of a bonding before everybody gets super selfish, right? And they're trained to be selfish like that. As a child, we're all pretty cool. So like people that I went to, because I had a K through 8 school, right? So some people I went, some real big, like some real gangster dudes, and then some real brilliant musically dudes, and some real athletic dudes, and women, right? Like we were all kind of like family for us, right? Regardless of what ended up happening later on, these are the type of people you see. You're like, yo, you know, I appreciate your friendship from back in the day. So it just got weird when, you know, you hear like this person's blood, this person's crip or whatever, and then they're shooting at each other. It's like, yo, but come on, man. Like 3 years ago, we were just all just chilling.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And
So,
you had friends from both pretty much
oh
gangs,
yeah,
right?
from
Yeah.
all from all over, like from all over those, all
Yeah.
different parts of the city, and then also from like we were all in the same grade schools growing up, and so on. So like so to see it play out that way, you know, it's kind of like disappointing, but it
Yeah.
is what it is. It's part of the
In that sense,
process.
I can relate to that because I also didn't understand like the division into like one against another. I was always would be happy, to, you know, talk to anyone and have be friends with pretty much diverse kind of people. So I didn't, I never liked the idea of taking certain sides, because everybody could be right and wrong at the same time. You
Yeah,
remember?
yeah. It all makes that whole circle, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
completes the site for the different views. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's challenging, man. Like, you know, in certain areas, not even certain areas. I think the majority of areas, right? You're raised to be a certain type of way, like not necessarily by your parents, but like by TV, by influences, by music, and so on. It's like you got to be the best, you got to be the strongest, you got to be this particular thing, but everybody can't be. So once and so that prevents you from being able to see the entire picture because you're focused on yourself so much. So once you get past that, I think that's where the real growth begins, right?
Yeah, can you tell me like I don't know, like an example story, like a crazy story that happened in the hood that would just like come to your mind right now? Like something crazy
And
to you, or maybe you witnessed,
I'm trying to think of something that won't implicate anyone.
Okay. Yeah, without names and stuff. Like that story you have, like you seen a person get shanked. You would just randomly walking, like going to school, and you see just people just fighting and
Oh man, there were
cutting
fights all
each.
the time.
Yeah, all the time.
All the
Okay, okay.
time, man. Like people just got busy, like, and it'd be over stupid stuff too.
And people die over the stupid stuff a lot of times, and you see a lot of death.
Yeah,
Can you say that?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, you know, up close personally, no, I try to start getting low. But like one of my good friends, Will, he was shot in the head. My man Tito was shot in the face. Like everybody, like man, I can tell you right now, several people who were shot in the face and the head. People got beat up and died, and right, and you may know both of them, or you may suspect both of them, or whatever the case may be, and it just makes it weird, man.
And that's the 90s, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The
That's where
90s,
the like the.
we were teenagers, not even actually, right? But yeah,
Would you say like the teenagers are like a lot more aggressive
Well,
The
yeah, the
yeah.
frontal lobes aren't fully developed, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
still they're reacting
They
on a
go
lot of
crazier.
impulse, and so like and there's a lot of bravado, right? And you think about it, at the time, hip hop was emerging.
Okay.
It was changing from. Oh, she was doing the laundry.
No problem. No problem.
Hip hop was changing from knowledge of self to gangster rap more so, right? Like I think
Yeah.
it was like '92 is when the Chronic came out, and then you had and then after that you had a bunch of other things, and yeah, really, I think it really shifted the culture, man. Like it was stuff that was actually happening though, so I don't really want to put it on hip hop like that. Like now I would, but back then I think it was there was a noticeable change, right?
So it became like, I guess, cool, right? To be a gangster kind of deal, right?
Yeah. You start seeing people on the East Coast wearing Dickies.
Okay. But
Like,
before though, it was like the like, from what I understand, I don't claim to understand that, but from what I understand, like the hip hop or rap, it was more of like a protest, right? From the people from the hood. There's like the voice of the people, right?
yeah, it was a method of communication, right? So like in '94, I told you like Nas, I
Nas.
painted a picture.
Nasty Nas.
Yeah. It was so vivid, like from Queens to Jersey to wherever that on the up and down the East Coast, the hoods. It was so similar that you can actually. It provided some guidance to Jews. Like I had to school them, tell them don't let brothers fool them, because when the pistol blows, the one that's murdered be the cool one. A couple of those rhymes actually got me out of a couple of jams when I was in the midst of some wars and stuff. So, but then it changed, man. It changed to a totally different thing. And so, like, as you see that escalate, you start seeing the correlation with the hood, right? Like,
Interesting.
yeah, it used to be able to
So
get out of situations.
yeah, so before it was more of like a protest, like the rap music itself, and then it became more gangsta. So it became cool to brag about like how gangsta you are, right? Like pimp and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think it was a mix, right?
Oh, it was a mix.
It was a mix.
Yeah,
You had your selection.
sometimes like it was like I had no choice but to be a gangster to make it in life, right?
Right, and then you
Yeah.
speak your experience, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a mix, man. Like you can go check like a De La Soul or Pete Rock and CL Smooth, or then you had somebody who was actually exposed to the streets, but then also trying to understand the both sides of it. Like, yeah, I'm dealing with this, but this is the way that I see that it should be out, or this is my view from a beyond the years type of perspective. And then you had cats that were just 100% about the money by any means necessary, right? So, and you had groups like BDP. You had this artist named Rakim. Yo, Rakim was crazy. But I don't need a cigarette. Know what I mean, right? So like they'd drop jewels, Poor Righteous Teachers. They would drop jewels in the music that kind of kept, kind of gave you a little bit of guidance with it, right? And I think once you start having like switch up your flow, your stuff is garbage, what you're trying to acknowledge, it kind of took the cool out of out of the knowledge and the intelligence.
What kind of role did music play for you during those times when you were in the hood? Was it like a kind of like an exit into I guess an alternative reality type of deal? Like you could just listen to music and just kind of go away, or is it more like going along with your life and just like kind of
No, it was
enhancing?
life. It was
life.
definitely
It was like
life.
the truth. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
because what you're hearing in the music was actually being reflected. So it was like art imitating life, but then amplifying it to people who weren't even involved in the types of situations, right? And so like I just quoted a Jay-Z rhyme. Jay-Z is brilliant, by the way, fantastic artist, right? Witty. His interviews are fantastic. Like that dude, that you learn so much just from his interviews. But
The Witty, his name?
no, his Witty, Jay-Z.
Okay.
He's sharp.
Ah, you mean the
Yeah.
Jay-Z's interviews?
Yeah,
Okay, I
it's
see,
pretty
I see.
dope.
Okay.
But like, yeah, it's life, because the things that you're seeing, like something may go down here, right? And then you hear about it from somebody else's music, which was cool. But now it's like, well, back then it was like, but you still got guidance, right? Like, you still got jewels that you picked up that kind of like, the communication was through the music. It was a form of,
Yeah.
this is what I'm seeing. These are the steps that I take to avoid it. what are you seeing type of situation, right? Well, for certain artists, the artists I listen to, I ain't really listen to the. I like articulate rappers, right? Like people who can express a point, tell a story.
Yeah. Especially that you can relate to, like
Right,
the
right,
life
right.
about the and like life in the hood kind of. I guess this life in the hood itself, it's so I guess not like if you don't look for it yourself, you will not be able to see it if you live in some other areas. You know, for
Yeah,
instance, like for me, right? Like I live in Kazakhstan, and when we listen to like when rap started getting popular in
yeah,
Kazakhstan,
yeah,
we would listen to the beats, right? To the
yeah.
beats, to the flow. It would
Right.
just automatically right away we will just started,
Mm-hmm.
resonating with it. I remember like just the 50 Cent, like the in the club, the
Yeah,
very
he's
first
dope.
time it just came out, it was just like boom,
Yeah, that
right?
album was nuts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
album
yeah.
was nuts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When it came out, it was just like I don't know, like across the world, all over the world, right? Probably it was so like resonating. So,
Mhm.
like for me, I wouldn't, I guess, know all of the like the actual the background of
Mhm.
the culture, how it developed, like the music, how it developed.
Mhm.
So, it's nice to hear like a person that I guess experienced it and would be able to relate for a lot of stuff. Later, when I moved to US, I started, I guess, listening, all like understanding some of the
Yeah.
even though I don't think I understand a lot of it because there's a lot of inside
Yeah, we speaking codes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
code inside. So it's but like from some of these rappers when they talk about the hood, like it's like crazy. People die every day. People get shot every day. People, I don't know. It's just like every day something is happening there, and it's like almost no way to get out of there. It's like the picture is like there's like this I guess saying like get out of the hood type of deal. It's just like I made it out of the hood. So it was like something like this. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like once you get stuck in that life, it's hard to get out, even though it's like almost like you can just,
Yeah.
physically get out.
Yeah, it's like on the podcast you were playing before,
Mm-hmm.
you were saying I think I'm not sure if it was you or my man that was saying
Mm-hmm.
it was you actually when you were saying if you perceive the world as like it's a simulation and things
Yeah.
start to change. Well, it's the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are messages that come through consistently. Like I got in my car the other day, just
Mm-hmm.
as an example. I got in the car, had my daughter with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard 3 boyfriends. I don't know where I'm sleeping, and I was like, turn it off. I'm trying to turn it off as quickly as
Yeah.
possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the messaging that's coming through, it's repetitive. Now you said you listen to the music, you were into the melodies.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, they're still going into your subconscious and they're programming you, right? So now you notice your thoughts start to change,
Mm-hmm.
and then your actions are going to be in alignment with your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? The anxiety, the tension that comes with it. Now, these messages are propagated throughout the hood 24/7, 365, right? It's in the music, it's in what you see, it's in all the movies that we make. Not all of them, right? But that's a whole nother conversation in regards to depth and so on. But I think once, like, people don't see themselves for what they are, or even a piece of what they are, really, right? It's very small, because it breeds a very short term mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, okay, if I go to rob somebody right now, I'm robbing another person who may have $25 in his pocket. I may want to lift his chain off of him or something like that, but that's only for today. The risk isn't really worth the reward, right? It's a wild situation. I think with the biggest issue is the lack of hope and belief, because you're constantly told like this is what you can only make it out through basketball or sports or blah blah. They don't really have like fly engineers coming through or like people coming through to build
Mm-hmm.
the I know I can be whatever I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I focus on it, there's no real focus on sacrifice or perseverance, right? Everything is quick. I want it fast. I want the quick cash and things like that. So with that short-term mentality, you end up with less than stellar results, and then you're subject to make decisions that are going to have, you know, the ramifications are going to be not too great, right? Like it's going to have a negative impact on you, right? So like what you do And once I can't say all of it, but like a part of it is starting with hope and you being able to believe in yourself, and then being able to see that, okay, I could do something beyond this, or there's a path to do something beyond this. Now, even while you're thinking that, you may think that for a day or two and then get pulled over by the cops, right? Then get beat up by the cops. It could be black, white, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm not big on racism and stuff like that, but like the traps are there, right? And so the next thing you know, now you have this negative energy following you, and so it just car might break down. And you know what I'm saying? And then somebody might be like, yo, I got a quick play. Let's do this. And it's like, all right, if I do this, I can get to work. You're trying to get to the proper thing, but it just, in that environment with all the dense negative energy there, things are lined up to occur. And then it's one thing after the next until it just takes you down, right? So, yeah, man, that's what I think is really happening.
I remember Lil Wayne, like to your saying about not big into racist thing. I remember Lil Wayne once said, like, I don't believe in racism in U.S. because he had that situation. I don't know, was it he or was it someone else? But like there was like a fire in the house,
Oh,
and
yeah,
like a white fireman would bring out the a black kid from inside the house.
yeah.
While other like black policemen didn't really care. That's the story along the lines. I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
so like some people don't even see, racism, while others focus on it. I don't know.
No, I just don't focus on it, right? Focusing on, I mean, in certain cases, yes, I do, but then in other cases, no, I don't, right? And
Yeah.
just so you're aware, for everything that I say to you, I believe is both true and false.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so because in certain situations it's true, in other situations it's false. Just trying to see the whole, right? But yeah, no, I've been exposed to crazy racism, and that's
Okay.
it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay,
Yeah.
like, because now I understand it, and then I've been exposed to crazy love on multiple sides, right? So, it's based on the individual. It's based on their upbringing. I don't even want to leave it at that, but like, because I just don't know fully, but
Yeah.
because I'm not in your household, right?
That's
but
true.
but like my like even within certain communities, there's light skin versus dark skin, or there's just that and the third, right? So it's some sort of training that we have,
Yeah.
all of us, right? That makes us these ways, right?
Yeah.
So like there are definite traps.
Let me give you my experience. When I came from Kazakhstan, I didn't I used to live in this community with mixed people. Like there were Russians, Ukrainians, from different countries. My grandma is German. I'm from Kazakh, right? And we lived in. There were never like a big, issue with racism. I only found out about racism when I came to US.
Yeah.
Like the issue stands here very like priority. Like I didn't realize that was an issue before, because we used to live in the community. I used to hang out with people, and it would never brought up. Maybe there were some issues that some communities didn't like each other, but it was not like this, like this like a big elephant in the room all the time. Like, hey, racism, we don't do that.
Yeah.
It would be like,
Yeah.
and only when I moved to US, issues, the racism issues and all that stuff, I started getting more knowledge, like how very prevalent that issue in US is. I don't know why is it like that, but yeah, I even heard that quote once said, like, to say, what is it said? America without racism is almost America and racism are very like close going things, together. So it's like almost unimaginable. You know what I'm saying? It's very like close to each other. I don't know why.
Well, you need it in order to keep people separate, right?
Yeah.
If you can divide people by any means, right? It could be outside of racism. Let's say there's no racism. Then you got class, right? If everyone looks the same, then you got class. Okay, well, how much money you got? Let's divide you there. I don't know if it's to say let's divide you there, or if your own mind is saying like let's divide you there. But however it works, it's there. But you.
So as long as you succeed in dividing certain groups, you're able to, I guess, control it more successfully. Would
Yeah,
you
yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think so. And right, like, and let's just say you and I have an issue racially, right? Then I can't just go to you openly and learn from you, right? So my cipher's never completed. I can never be fully whole because I don't have the information you have, and you don't have the information that I have based on my experiences and certain things I may know,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So, like, I had real good Caucasian friends and
Yeah.
brilliant people. I had some real excellent, amazing, brilliant black friends and Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, right? Like, very diverse circle that I like. And it allows you to grow. And so when you don't have access to that growth, it just doesn't feel whole sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, because you're not seeing these other points of view, you know? And then resources aren't necessarily shared willingly between groups. And you know, like, forgiveness is your key to freedom. So, like, I think, like, giving and forgiveness, right? It's the same thing for me. Like, it's or similar, right? That's your key to freedom. So, like, without being able to do that fluidly, then you know, for me, it's like you never really reach your peak, or you never really expand beyond a certain bubble.
All right. Let's lighten this thing up. We took it like a little bit too seriously. What were the positive, things living in the hood, like in your childhood, when you like were having good times.
Oh, dude, to me, it's all positive, right? Because it's all
Everything.
growth, right?
Yeah.
But okay, and what I mean by that is this, and I want to answer your question directly as well. If you look at somebody who may be a bit foul and do something crazy to you,
Okay.
the happy path is cool, but you learn so much more from the other side,
Yeah.
right? So, like, people talk about God and the devil and whatever. And so you look at these things as like your master teachers, right? Because through the adversity, the challenges, this is how you grow the most. It sharpens your sword. It's like a boxing match. You got to go fight, and then you get your skills up. This is why you spar. That's the first part of it. So I don't really look at it as negative, right?
I see. Yeah,
Right?
maybe I should rephrase this. Maybe not negative, but I guess acts of kindness, helping each other,
Oh, yeah,
brotherhood.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's acts of kindness every day. But I'll start with this. When I was a kid, man, I swear to you, like, some of these dudes and women that I grew up with was the most talented, brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, man, you talk about people making something out of nothing. Like, the people I was surrounded with, I was just in amazement. Like, how do you think of these things? It could be anything from sports to art to coming up with solutions. Like, yo, we need water. Let's figure this out. Or, like, people used to go steal cable. How did you even know how to do that, right? Like, at this age, before, like, you're like 7. Like, how are you? You know what I mean? Or, like, or anything, right? Just figuring out business ideas from a very young age to generate profit, like, legally, right? And things of those natures. It was, man. You get exposed to some of the most like, you see a lot of ups and downs,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you see this in, like, West Virginia as well, and in other places. You see a lot of ups and downs. The games that they make, right, like, to entertain themselves or like to spread love and cheer throughout the communities are, like, brilliant. Like, you don't have access to resources or, like, access to certain machines to build these games, but you would think creatively, like, okay, let's think outside the box. Let's make something for our own enjoyment, or something to keep people focused on these particular positive vibes, or whatever the case may be, and just run. So, yeah, there's a lot of it, man.
Interesting. Like, when was there like a point when you decided to kind of get out of the hood, or like was there always like a, I don't know, have you ever like wanted to get out of the hood, or like a dream or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
Like you don't want to, I guess, like the idea is like you don't want to live this kind of life. You want to live something different, I guess. Or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, yo, dude, it's as simple as this, right? Like, I have some people, like, let's say, like, they may live in Newark, New Jersey, and they like, I'm never leaving Newark, and I'm like, that's
Okay.
cool, because
Okay.
Newark is a beautiful place, right? But it's a big world, man.
Yeah. And
It's a big world, and I think traveling I think exposure to again exposure to have different types of people, regardless of complexion, right? Just having different ideas. Like one of your friends may say, "Dude, I'm gonna go move to Florida," or like somebody say, "I'm gonna go move to Europe," and then you start exploring these places and seeing
Yeah.
what's about it, Africa or whatever, and see what it's about. Different places in Africa, different countries. And really start looking at it like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
At least I want to go see it, right? So
Yeah.
I think when I was like 17,
Uh huh.
I got my first car, right?
Nice.
And so my homeboy P, my best friend K, my homeboy L, my man Core, my man Rock, my man Speech. We used to, and a few others, right?
Mm-hmm.
We used to just go out of state, go have a blast, right?
Okay.
Just at 17, just after school, we're going, boom,
Nice.
right?
Where would you go? Like Florida or something?
Nah, like, cause I have to get back for school the next day.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So
So
I go
somewhere
to
close
Philly.
around?
Yeah,
Oh,
go to
okay.
Philly. Somewhere like even if it was a 4-hour drive, and then to get back 8 just to go hang out, meet new people, have different experiences, right? So like that sparked the flame of like, yo, we need to always travel and we need to get out and do things and experience the world. Like some people are cool being stuck in one place, not even stuck, but living and enjoying
Yeah,
it
yeah,
in one
yeah.
place, and that's cool because everyone's different. And then there are times where again you just want to really get out and see different things. Because you think about this, you might buy a real nice house,
Okay.
right? And you may be like house poor, or you may make the house so nice that you don't go outside anymore.
Yeah.
Is that house a prison?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you stuck in the
I
prison
could
now?
totally relate to that because, like, the culture of Kazakhs are like nomadic. We're like very nomadic. We
Yeah.
used to be, and then they made us like, like Russia or whatever. Like the empires made us be like sedentary lifestyle, but we used to be very nomadic. So we
Always
move
moving.
every time. We don't even live in one place for like more than like 3 months or something. It would be just always moving. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, since I was little, I wanted to, explore the world. I wanted to move to a different place, and stuff like that. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
How,
It's fun.
how did you end up in the West Coast from the East Coast?
Yeah, so I met a woman.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good story,
And
right?
she yeah. I met a
Yeah,
woman.
like if a woman makes you move to a completely opposite side of the U.S., that must mean something, right?
Well, it was crazy synchronicities, right? Like, so I had a breakup. I started doing my thing. I was pursuing like music and the arts,
All right.
and I was still working at the time as well. But I travel,
Okay.
and traveling, performing, and like just meeting up with a bunch of different people. I started this thing called Primes Dimes, and I was interviewing people, right? For some stuff that I was doing, like some magazines, and then also like a website that I had that I was building up,
Oh, okay.
and
Would you record something like this, like a podcast, or
it was mostly
already?
written.
Ah,
Right?
just
And
written
then
interviews?
we did some video.
Oh,
Did some
nice.
video. It was pretty cool. So I started like I got to interview 50 Cent. I got to interview Lloyd Banks.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh,
yo,
nice.
he's a super cool dude. Very genuine and authentic. Like a bunch of people, right? So I was like just happy doing that.
Nice.
I got to musically I got to meet Cassidy from the Rough Riders. Yo, Cassidy's a monster. Him, Dragon from the Rough Riders. A bunch of other artists. It was real cool experience.
That's awesome,
man.
dude.
Yeah.
And you said we had a website, right? Or was
Yeah,
it
no,
journal?
yeah, I had one. I deaded it now.
Okay,
right,
okay.
'cause my focus. is
And
different.
was it more focused on like a rap, music, hip hop, right?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
entertainment, right? So
Okay, okay.
initially it started off with me marketing my music, and
Mm-hmm.
it went from I was on a like MySpace, right?
Okay.
So I want to say this is like 07, 06, 07. I was marketing like MySpace, and then
Yeah, MySpace. I remember that.
yeah, and so I funneled people to the website through there, and then the question was, okay, the music is hitting. We're getting a bunch of good feedback, but how do I make it bigger? And so for me at the time, I had some other people I was rapping with. They were fresh, man. And then there was some singers that were super fresh, like real talented people, much more talented than I, right? So then also there was like I was around a bunch of different like people in the industry that were doing things, models or like actresses, and to a degree, and I really had a certain level of respect for them.
Nice.
So it became like, okay, well, look, let me interview you. And then I
Okay.
started seeking out interviews and trying to sharpen my skills in that way.
Awesome. I was gonna ask, how would one, like 50 Cent was very, very popular.
Yeah.
He was at the peak, right? At that
Oh
time.
yeah. Dude
How
was
would
amazing.
one get an interview with 50?
Well,
Uh-huh.
so when I was on MySpace, I was contacted by this dude named Eddie House.
Okay.
Cool dude, Puerto Rican dude from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Real good guy. And his man Nell, who actually I think lives out here now. But so they hit me up. He said he wanted to interview me based on the music, and so I went there. We got up. He super cool because he's a good dude. And he was actually working with Felon magazine at the time. I don't know if you remember Felon magazine when Jay-Z and Nas were beefing. Nas was on the cover of it with
Oh
a
yeah.
mesh jacket on the
Yeah.
Bentley. It was fresh. And so it was a issue that we were going to do called America's Most Wanted. And so it's going to be a split cover. T.I. was going to be on the cover of one, and then myself alongside these other real dope artists from New York were going to be on the other. This one dude named Un was nuts, man. Anyway, I wish I would have did some songs with him. But yeah, so through Felon, they somehow got a connect to go interview 50, and then so they brought, like, because I was doing interviews anyway, it just happened, and so we sat down and we got to interview him. Unfortunately, that interview never came out in that magazine because I think the owner was incarcerated or so. But
Oh really?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was dope, man. It was a great experience. Shouts to all of them dudes, and so I got to interview him, and then from him it was like Lloyd Banks and then Young Buck, and I wish I could have interviewed Yayo too, because Yayo's dope. Interview wise too, especially. He's like very.
Do you have an interesting story during those interviews? Like, what's your, I guess, impressions or what happened? Maybe. Don't remember.
Nah, I say I think some of these cats are so open,
Okay.
right? Like as far as their honesty,
Yeah.
right? And as far as how genuine, like the character that you know, it used to be a case of, yo, this dude ain't real. He's not the person who he appears. Nah, 50's really like that dude that he appears to be, plus probably more, right? Like the genuine approach to interviews, he's really giving you honest, sincere answers, right? And you can see the growth even throughout the interview. Depending, you ask one question and you ask another, you see, like, let's say there's a contradiction, or like there's a question that's not a gotcha question, but like something that's it'll cause somebody to think. You can see the wheels turn, and then the answer comes from a place of sincerity and like real a contemplative thing, right? Like he's dope, man. It's just dope people being around. Yeah. But nothing in particular that I want to call out right
Okay.
now.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
That's just cool. I was gonna. I don't know. Can we talk about beats or no? No. No. Okay. Sounds good. No beats. But what else? I had a couple questions. Like, I was telling my friends that I've been interviewing, like you, like from Brooklyn and stuff like that, and I had some fans, like rap fans, and
Oh yeah.
he
Brooklyn.
said
Biggie.
top 5 hip hop albums for last 2 decades.
Top 5.
For you.
I can't do a top 5, bro.
You cannot.
Nah, cause it's
It's just
cause I gotta put Illmatic in there.
yeah.
That's my number one, right? But then it was written. It's a different to Illmatic, right? Like it's the song on there called "I Gave You Power." Where dude makes himself. He tells a story from the perspective of a gun. It's freaking mind blowing. And just the jewels in there, Black Girl Lost, or like If I Rule the World. The you know what it is? You have some dudes who come with a bunch of punchlines,
Okay.
in music. They hit you with them. Like, yo, Cassidy can hit you with crazy punchlines. This dude named Cannabis who can hit you with like the rhymes are so fresh. Jay, crazy punchlines, super skilled artist. Then you got other dudes who they can hit you with some punchlines, but then they'll make the song, the entire song or the album a punchline. And so it's like different categories of hip hop. So like for me, okay, I and then you got somebody like Pac. See, this is the thing too. Even with the top 5 artists, right? Like, if somebody were to come to me and say, "Yo, Rakim is the greatest artist of all time," right? I can't argue with you because Rakim started that whole new wave flow that just changed the game, and then it ushered in from the older school to the modern type of bass of rap, right? Like where it was just like, this is mind blowing. The smoothness of the flow, and plus the lyrics that match the flow, like a G rap and all of them, right? But if somebody were to come and say like, "Yo, Tupac is the greatest," I can't argue with you because one, he had, if you're looking at a numbers perspective, he sold crazy amounts of records, and the other thing with him, he had a way where I think he was the best at touching you and making you feel what he felt.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is why people have such a genuine love for Tupac and his music, because they feel it. Right? And so if music is that feeling to you, then that's cool.
Yeah.
But then if you come and you say Nas is the best, I agree with you 100%, because when it's, bruh,
Yeah.
like just the perspective, the way the words are put together, you can see everything that homeboy is saying, number one. And then like he told the story backwards. There's nobody in hip hop right now who has a fresher song. But then right, and then just the complete discography is just amazing. Right? Yeah, I don't even know how many albums, but like I could tell you, if I said Illmatic, it was written. I loved I Am as well, but I Am was supposed to be a double CD, but we'll skip that for now and just say like Lost Tapes, Magic, King's Disease 3, Life is Good, Stillmatic, which is amazing, then Godson. Like you're on 8 that I already feel are like classic albums.
Okay.
Right? And then you got like Biggie. Right? That double CD was nuts. Ready to Die was nuts. The remixes were nuts, right? So, I mean, and it's difficult. Only Built for Cuban Links. You ever heard that album by Raekwon? You ever heard Enter the 36 by Wu-Tang Clan?
I might. You see, like I'm saying, like I
Yeah.
started like barely scratching the surface, like of even trying to understand of the lyrics and stuff like that. Just very recently. Before it would be just like just the beats, like you said.
Yeah.
Like when you listen to Tupac, even though I didn't understand,
You felt it.
I felt some
Yeah.
pain. Coming
Yeah, and it's real, and it's not too complex how he's putting the words together.
Yeah, very like emotional, like energy is
Right.
going very crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you say Jay-Z's the best, I can't argue with you. He's done crazy numbers. He's witty. He has some of the most scathing diss records ever, right? But for me, it boils down to my alignment. Right? And so like for me, I know when we went in high school, there was some dudes who were heavy on Biggie. Started rocking like, you started seeing the characters aligned with the artist. Like there was some Tupac dudes, raw, right? Like just absolutely raw, right? Like super aggressive raw, like an MOP, which had a fantastic album, by the way, called To the Death from Brooklyn. AZ, fantastic lyricist, right? So like to me, to get to top 5, like even ATL, like Outkast, they dropped the classic album as well, right? Scarface dropped a couple of them, right? But yeah, like to me, the alignment in that era was based on personality. Like if to recognize a Tupac situation, you're gonna feel him, and you may be that type to be like, man, F that, F you, and your clique, right? Just totally, but at the same time, then you had another side to it, like Dear Mama. If you were like understanding, like, yo, I'm put in this situation, but I actually have these types of feelings, and I want to, and express it this way. then that's cool. But like when it comes to just the creative aspect of hip hop, then nah, it's for me top down. Like you listen to that I Gave You Power record, or you listen to on the Nostradamus, he has a song where he made himself a prison cell, or like I Am. It's a story called Undying Love. The messages that are encapsulated in the music is just mind blowing. And then you go back, and he never really picked like trendy beats. So like when other people were trending and they were doing all the songs with the top artists, he always stayed in his lane. But the content was always on a level where it's like, yo, this is gonna hold you 10, 20, 30 years into the future because of the subject matter was always so real. And for me, that's the separation. You know what I mean? Like you can get angry, right? And you can want to smack somebody right now. But when that anger subsides, you're going to feel some kind of way. The anger is not long lasting, right? Well, for some people it is. They could hold grudges and all of that for years. But that's, again, it's the alignment. So like for somebody like F your click, and the click you claim and all of that stuff, banging. It definitely, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh snap, right? Same as when I heard Who Shot You, I'm like, oh snap. Or like Mobb Deep, another classic album. Yeah, that's another, that's classic. But you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I feel right now I feel so incompetent. Like when you like reference all of those albums, I was like, dude, I have no idea what those are. But that's cool, man. I'm gonna have to after I record this, after I listen to this, I'm gonna have to go and visit and just listen to all of those people that you referenced, and I guess I'm gonna have to come back to it. Yeah.
Check Lauryn Hill too.
Okay,
she's fire. And then if you want to check Lauryn, you probably got to go back check like Queen Latifah and them too. But yeah, it's just, dude, it's the content, man.
Yeah,
like the content was
wow,
ridiculously fresh. Like you know, for example, Queen Latifah had a song called UNITY. She's actually from Irvington too. My mother was teaching at the high school.
Okay.
Beautiful, like people, right? But like, she had a song like UNITY, like who you calling a B, right? So the courage of people back in those days to stand up, like, nah, this is corny. You're going, you know what I mean? You're doing the wrong thing. Like, let's go this way, right? Different perspectives, but it was to me like you ain't really compromise on your integrity. Like when Nas was like, hip hop is dead. Yeah, it was weak, man. Or Wu-Tang was like, yo, there's a lot of albums coming out this past year that's been weak. Like they were really weak albums, and so, or like 50, just speaking his mind. It's a lot less of that now, or maybe it is, but I don't know. But yeah, you gotta check some of them albums, man. They fire, yo.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. By the way, did you buy that thing with the sound on the sand?
The cymatic?
Yeah, cymatic.
No. But I keep sending it to my lady, and I'm like, can you order this for me? Yeah. I should just do it myself. I can't blame it on her. It's my issue. I'll get it for sure. I'm gonna have it up, so next time you come up, you could experiment with it.
Yeah, definitely. That would be fun.
For sure.
Maybe I'll get it myself before you do. I guess.
I'm gonna ask her to do it again. I'm gonna do it asking her in front of you when she gets back. Like, so now you can see me ask.
Yeah,
Word.
That's awesome.
Word.
Yeah, man. It's awesome, man. Like the way the knowledge, like I guess everybody who's from that time, I guess that come from the hood probably has that knowledge, right? In terms of music, like the passion for the rap culture, for the music. Would you say that or no?
I think we're so opinionated.
Oh, okay. Everybody will have their own opinion, right?
We're so opinionated because you like, especially on the New York side, right? Like then you had other artists that like Redman or like Naughty by Nature who were dropping crazy hits or like, right? So everybody had their favorite. I mean, in my crew, when Wu dropped, you had some people who were like, Method Man was the freshest, Old Dirty was, and then Inspector Deck, right? But again, I think it just goes to the alignment of who you are and what you represent as an individual. Like if, I've been in situations where it's like, I'm considering doing something and I hear some lyrics, right? Or just the vibe of the overall concept of the song is like, nah, this is not the best way to go about it. Again, I keep telling you, Cause when the pistol blows and when that murder be the cool one, right? Never talking to snakes cause the words of man kill, and like just understanding, right? Like Karen Rest has some songs anyway, but just understanding the level, right? So it kind of steered me away from being more on the angry side and being a bit more cerebral and just kind of understanding who I am to be a little more true to myself and understanding life. Because when you start hearing like life rhymes, life is parallel to hell, but I must maintain, or like I never sleep. Sleep is the cousin of death. Right? all of these different types of things, man. It levels you, right? It gives you a different way of thinking, things to consider, right? Like so, you start seeing people as the same, right? Through some of the jewels that come through in the music. Not like how people diet and they eat they refrain from eating certain foods.
Yeah.
I do that with music.
Oh.
Because these messages poison your mind and some actually uplift you. So I kind of try to make sure that what I'm taking in, whether it's visually or audibly, whatever, I try to make sure that I'm a little more lean in regards to
Would
that.
you say like the new like the rap that is currently is popular? Would you say is more on the poisoning side of things?
No, I think
Or it also depends, right? I guess who you listen to.
it depends the state of mind that somebody's in when they're listening to it. Because this is something I was thinking, right? Because it's dope artists. Like, man, J. Cole is fire. Kendrick Lamar is fire. Drake is fire. Right? They make great music, so I can't say that. I don't want to say anything bad about any of the new artists. I will say this, though. Consider this. Removing right and wrong. What if, or not say removing right and wrong. Like, let's say somebody's about to get hit by a car.
Okay.
And I saved the lady from getting hit by a car. What if that was the wrong thing to do? What if that was meant to play out a different way, but now I altered the scheme?
So you're responsible, right?
So now she's alive. And I don't know what she's doing. She's smearing poo-poo on other people's porches or something. I don't know, whatever she's doing. But like what, you know what I mean? Sometimes we make decisions that we feel is best, but sometimes you got to yield to a greater understanding, right? And so how do we even know that we're in alignment? So like if I put out music today that causes somebody to go and do something else that triggers a reaction to saving somebody else's life or having a greater impact for the overall good, how do I know that me walking away from doing a so-called bad thing was the wrong way to go?
Yeah,
right?
We're coming back to that philosophy again.
Yeah, you just never know.
Everything could be right and wrong at the same time. Everything could be, I know what you're talking about, definitely.
It's wild.
So you think you approach the life that way in a lot of ways? There's no right and wrong. There's, I guess, there's no, there could be truth and not true at the same time in a lot of ways. I can also relate to that, definitely. Like, for instance, the knowledge. Like, one time you think you definitely know something, and then the next day you think, I have no idea what I'm talking about at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you got kids and it's like, don't pee on the floor.
How do you tell basic things, right?
Yeah, it's like, how do you tell them like everything is true and false, but you still peeing on the floor? Like,
Also, I think like the world, like the rules, also ever changing, you know? So some things you think you're catching a pattern of and you think you're understanding it, it just changes all of a sudden and it's completely different. So the rules of the game change, you know, all the time. That's how I feel about it, you know.
So it's like the Mandela effect or something, right? Something you know was there and it was a certain way, and now all of a sudden it's changed, and you're like, nah.
You're thinking you're doing the right thing. You're thinking you're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, but often you catch yourself thinking like, do I actually know what the hell I'm doing? I have no idea what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Oh, one thing I need to say, boot camp click, Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson had they dropped a classic LP called The Shining. Also, Helter Skelter, they dropped a classic joint too.
That's awesome that I'm recording this. Now, like, when I come back to the home, I'm gonna be, you know, pulling up all those and listening to those and try to understand those, which is gonna be a task in and of itself, I think.
Yeah, the lingo was different. Gangstar. Moment of Truth. Was it hard to earn? Gangstar, man. Yeah, you check out Gangstar. It's DJ Premier and Guru. Damn, all of these artists are popping up now that I'm thinking that was super fresh. They used to inspire me, crazy back in the day, man. Yeah, but anyway, I sorry to switch this.
No, no,
Part.
no, no.
Yeah,
You keep talking whatever you want to talk about. That's
but yeah,
always fun to listen to. To listen to something new, something like this, the culture, the whole uh, life of yours is so. I don't know how to explain. It's also relatable in terms of the experiences, but at the same time, it's like so different. Like I had no idea. It's so intricate in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying?
what do you mean?
Like a lot of the names that you mentioned, I don't know, like almost half of them. In terms of like the culture is just like so developed and
Oh yeah, it was
very
dope,
very
man.
interesting. Yeah. Uh, my story, when I first came to US in 2008, I had a chance to live in the hood for a little while. So basically I worked at this Holiday Inn as a housekeeper, and I didn't have a house, like I didn't have a place to live in, and I told like the staff, like, hey guys, if anyone has like a room that I can live for a little while, I would pay, but is there anyone could give me a room? And then like nobody, like they just like, okay, and just dismissed it, and we just kept going about our lives. And then in the evening, there's this girl, a white girl, Cassandra, just came up to me and was like, hey, come on, let's go to to my house. I have a husband and a son. It's like, and she had like a black husband and lived in the hood. And like I remember we were smoking blunts. And the very first time, I think actually I started understanding rap music after smoking blunts and
Yeah,
listening to rap music.
yeah.
And like I listened to Many Men by
50.
50 Cent, and it
Yeah,
was like I
yeah,
started understanding
yeah,
the lyrics. I was like, oh man,
yeah.
that's so awesome.
Yeah, 50 dope, man. 50's dope. Also check out the locks, D Block, dude, they ill. They're ill. But yeah, Sheik Lou's dropped a classic called Walk With Me. That's fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you smoked and you heard.
And I started actually hearing the lyrics and the words. Before, those words used to be just like a part of music, it's just like a beat,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
going with
yeah,
the flow.
yeah, yeah.
Especially like the flow, is like the ways like some people can I guess adjust their flow to the music is
Yeah.
so beautiful. Sometimes you don't even realize they're actually speaking
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Before it was like that to me, but I started listening. I started hearing like Many Man, and I started
Yeah,
feeling like he's in the
yeah.
hood, and people are coming up to him and started shooting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like give myself like the
You
pictures
can
actually.
see it.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. And then the beat, the backdrop, it's the perfect landscape, right? To the words, is because the beat's matching,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what I think. That's the perfect pairing. You know what I mean? So I think that's why he's such a dope artist too. But yeah, it's the perfect pairing. That album was amazing, bro. Like yeah, it's nuts.
I remember that guy. He was from, I think, Guyana. I think
Who?
like some he had a Jamaican accent basically.
Which one?
The guy that I lived with, was a
Okay.
roommate.
Okay.
He had a Jamaican flag, and he had these big ass speakers.
Yeah,
Listen to some
yeah.
reggae and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Reggae.
come out on the porch.
Yeah,
Blah
yeah.
blah blah. And for me, I never like lived in a hood, and it was like. I would compare it to GTA, San Andreas. I used to play GTA San
Yeah,
Andreas
yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, damn, I'm in GTA,
Yeah, yeah.
That was funny.
That was the wait.
Uh-huh.
What city was this?
It was Albany, New York.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, man. It's West Indians. The culture. You ever hear calypso?
Where?
Calypso,
Here?
the music,
Oh, no.
like the Mighty Sparrow, is pretty dope. But reggae, that's another dope album. The album with Nas and Damian Marley. You gotta go check that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Distant Relatives. It's fire. But
Okay.
yo, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh,
Oh, interesting. So Nas made a reggae album. I could imagine
it's hip hop reggae.
a lot of, I guess, meaningful, like, a lot of meaning to the
Oh yeah,
flow. Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy. But a lot of these dudes, man, like I like artists that experiment. But yeah, but like to me, like a Tupac is like a I don't kind of like see how Bob Marley's bigger than like
Yeah.
reggae, right? Like the
Yeah.
figure is. I think Tupac's on that level as far as being big, on that type of level, like outside of hip hop,
Yeah.
what he stood for,
Yeah.
in certain senses, right?
It's almost like Muhammad Ali, also, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the bigger than life figure.
Ooh,
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah. It's like bigger than boxing,
Yeah, bigger than.
right? You know, Floyd doesn't get the credit he deserves either. I got to tell you, man. I got to be honest with you. I think, like, if you look at a Floyd Mayweather, and this is why I think Floyd's the greatest athlete of all time. Well, Jordan, I like Jordan as well. Floyd never complained, man. Every fight, he came 100% in shape.
Okay.
Wasn't smoking, wasn't drinking. Is that not what you want from an athlete?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Floyd is the. I mean, like, homie, no matter if the fans boo, his focus is laser. He's not going to compromise what he's doing for anybody else. He's going to get that W.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, you got fighters. I didn't train for this fight or whatever. Or like fighters who make excuses after the fight, or a lot of fighters that were on steroids and you know what I mean, and all of this and that. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular, right? I just, because, you know, some fighters be like, yeah, I was like 50% for that fight, or like 75% for that fight, or whatever the case may be. But nah, man, you never hear Floyd say that. He comes in, he gets the job done. You don't see him sniffing or doing nothing crazy. Like, he changed the model of business for boxing, right? Like, none of this stuff he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like, man, dude, it baffles me how somebody can contribute that much to a sport and then get so much hate, and then they try to make him look like a coward when he's like the only person that fought everybody.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So, just because people don't understand it when he's implementing it, it doesn't need to be called. It doesn't need to call for so much hate, right?
But like comparing like to Muhammad Ali, right? I remember like my parents or grandparents, like the Muhammad Ali was that figure. It's just like everybody would just kind of, I don't know, it was like a symbol of something, like a liberation, you know?
Yeah, and back to that racism thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The
And it's all over the world, you know what I'm saying? Not just the community within the U.S. or something. It's just all over the world. Everybody rooting for Muhammad Ali, because he was doing something that is beyond sport. He was proving something that is something. I don't know even how to fully, you know, pinpoint as what it is. But he was like a hope, like a light, you know.
He's a brilliant dude.
Yeah.
And he was able to explain things in a way that it was. You need some water?
No, I'm good.
In a way that was like common sense, right? Brilliant dude, and just a very advanced mind, right? A beautiful mind, just very advanced, talented too, right? Excellent boxer. And the time and what was going on, it was just the perfect timing. And he was the perfect individual to actually make these statements that he was making. He had the perfect mindset. It was just divine timing, man. Dude just took you.
Another level. You rarely see those kind of athletes. It's just they came with the mission. It's like you feel like they came with certain mission, you know. It's like not only for the sport or not only for this particular, you know, thing that they were doing. It's just like it's bigger. It's bigger, and everybody could relate to it in their own way.
Yeah.
Also, I think similar influence would be Michael Jackson, I would say. Also, in what I'm saying is like Michael Jackson was also like a person that just came out, you know, and represented certain, you know.
Yeah, the first video on MTV for a black artist.
Michael Jackson was like, ooh, you know, everybody would go crazy.
Another brilliant dude, Joe. Just brilliant. Like some of the moves that are coming out now that he was making, like trying to buy. He was trying to do this whole the same thing you see now with, like, what did he say he wanted to buy? the Marvel and do
Oh,
the
really?
movies. Yeah, I just saw that came out
I remember he wanted to buy a Happy Birthday song.
from Stevie.
No, like like the song everybody sings, "Happy Birthday to You."
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wanted to license it so nobody can use it except you or something like
yeah. That's dope. That's dope.
that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. But yeah, I mean, you contrast Ali to Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
People have the same reverence for Mike Tyson as they do for Ali, which is crazy to me because they're so different, which is so beautiful in itself, right?
Yeah, Mike Tyson is cool.
Yeah, like, damn, yo, you gotta love Mike Tyson. Like,
You gotta.
yeah, it's wild. He's just now.
Mike Tyson, I think, is a story of a person that a lot of people could relate to.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like he's I don't know, God given, talent attributes, like a freak of nature. When you watch his fights, you'd be like, what is happening? Like when you see him going up against some other person, you almost certain that this guy is gonna just almost destroy him. I don't know. He
he
had
fought
that
a lot of bigger
feeling.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, he had that feeling, about him, like this crazy energy. I don't know how to explain it. Is it wild or like it's like an animal, like coming in to a ring and he's like taking over everything, like just like around him, just like besides like the person coming in, there's like I feel like there's another spirit just coming in with him and just like taking over the whole area and I think that the guy who fight against him feels claustrophobic. He just feels the whole area around him with his presence. And at any point there could be like a devastating punch that could turn you off.
yeah. Yo, with Mike, man, it's a lot of things, dude. It's like the intimidation tactics that he used, but then again, it's like when he was at his best, it was the hard work. He was in phenomenal shape, yo. And so, I think and like for a lot of these guys, I mean, before Ali got locked up, right? Phenomenal shape. He come in. I think they were all the greatest of all time at certain points because when they're in tip-top space mentally and physically or whatever the case may be, it's like who could beat them, all right? So, I was pissed off at that Holyfield fight, though.
When he
That
bit
was
his ear or
headbutting
something?
him. Nah, Holyfield just
Headbutting.
kept headbutting him and stuff.
Yeah.
I was a huge Mike fan, too, you know what I mean? And then like Holyfield just got super big out the blue, and I'm like, how Holyfield just get so much weight? And so like he got so many muscles all of a sudden, like, now you gonna fight Mike, this is crazy. So, but yeah, like Mike, man.
Do you watch Mike's interviews?
I
Recent
caught some of them. I haven't seen all of them. It was the hot boxing
Yeah,
podcast.
he's saying some. He's saying some.
He's
some
brilliant,
stuff.
yo. Yeah, Mike.
You
Man.
can tell like the experience. I don't know. I mean the character.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the way he says things. Like I even get scared by just looking inside. Like I don't know. There's an energy coming in. There's still that Mike somewhere deep. That could. But he. Chose I guess certain way of doing things, and now and I like his story that he always likes to tell about how scared he was when he was coming out in the fights.
Yeah,
How like fear in a lot of ways helped them navigate the world.
Yeah.
That was fun part, definitely. Like you can relate to that.
Yeah.
A lot of people you come with the bravado. I was cool like that. I would kill you, blah, blah, blah. I like the way he always, whenever like someone praises him or something, like he would be humble in those, ways. Like I would be scared.
yeah.
I would be scared. Like his humbleness is
It's so genuine, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Like, again, like a Tupac, you just relate to it because it's so real. It's not. But you know what the thing too with Mike, man, like they try to make him appear like, oh, he's just this beast, but yo, he's smart as hell, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Mike is like, man, he has a way of looking at things that it's like, yeah, I get it. So I think the smartest people they gotta try to make look stupid.
Okay.
Right? But so yeah, they try to make him look a certain way, but he's man, that dude, he took control of everything now, so he's good. He's a brilliant dude, man.
It's a good story. Like I would always follow Mike Tyson and just check up on him. Like, what's up, my man Mike? What's he's doing?
Yeah,
how's he doing? You know, and he seemed to be doing really good right now. He got the weed business going, right? Really good for him.
yeah. I guess, man. You know, more power to him or
Yeah,
whatever. You
yeah.
know,
That's awesome.
a lot of these guys now find a lot of success. I know, which is good, man. This is what you want to see, right? You know, the things like now it's crazy because I don't have heroes like that now. But like as a child, you know, you want to see all your childhood heroes do well and ride off into the sunset and be at the top of the game or whatever like that. So, yeah, Mike for sure. He was that deal. Ali was that deal. You know what I mean? So,
Like the Mike's energy. I don't know how to compare. Like,
and contrast that with Floyd, right? Like again, now Floyd will go into the ring. Everybody's like, "Yo, he a little B. I'm gonna beat him up. He runs all the time." Nah. By the end of that fight, he gonna be beating you down, and there's nothing you could do about it. He's got more stamina, right? He's more skilled, and that's again to me why I think he's probably the greatest too. Like for the way they paint him, this maniac, this uncontrollable, blah blah blah. He's in the ring. He's focused. He's precision. He's under control. Even during that Zab Judah fight, you ever see that fight with him and Zab Judah?
I don't know.
Yo,
maybe.
Bro, I'm gonna put that fight on in a bit, yo. So Zab hit him low. He hit him in the sack. Right?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that highlight.
Yeah, and he just was calm, stayed in the corner, was just chilling until that whole thing was over, and he just went back to work. He didn't get caught up in any of the hype, man. Like, so the way they portray him, I don't think is the way he actually is. I mean, from my perspective, just looking in, because he's just way too calm and calculated in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the way I look, like with the Mani team, the Floyd Mayweather, they made it happen. All the power to him. You know, they kept it at the highest level, and he never lost. Like the way to, like, a lot of people, especially a lot of fighters, they want to fight and until they lose. You know, almost all the time. Like there's certain fighters, and he's very smart. Like you can tell, like the Mani team, the whole team, the Mayweather himself is like super smart, and it was like nothing but respect. I cannot say like the just business approach to everything. Like they have this, they have their own promotion, right? They have a bunch of other business that's set up throughout the time, and just like making money, making business. So they figure it out. They got the formula of how to make it in this industry, and I don't have anything but respect. I mean, a lot of, like I would say, I guess purists or like, I don't know, romantics or something, they want to see like some flashy, fights, knockouts and stuff like that. This guy didn't get hit,
And that's the whole name of the game.
Yeah.
It's hit and not be hit.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you look at it, again, it's the narrative doesn't really fit. He has the highest the highest hit plus minus ratio.
Wow.
He hits you more than he's ever, like, he's at the top of that, him and I think Andre Ward. But so like if he's hitting you and his shots are clean, right? He throws a lot of straight shots, man. And especially when he got older, especially, right? Because the hook people started seeing coming or whatever. But yeah, it's just it's incredible. The narrative doesn't
he
fit.
had some issue with his hands, right? Later in his career.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. I guess everybody gets those, right?
Yeah,
towards the end of the career.
Yeah, Prince Nassim had those too, man. Prince Nassim used to be knocking people out, but so yeah, Floyd broke his hands. I don't even know Floyd, but I'm just saying from a perspective of a fan or so. But yeah, it's perfect execution because you look at it. What he started in like '98. Something like that, 97.
And he ended his career pretty recently, right?
17, he fought McGregor, right? And now
Such
he's
a career.
Yeah, so you looking over all of them decades, right?
Just carefully, I would say, thought through, and almost never made major mistakes. Even like no mistakes.
Yeah, basically, right? And then he beat everybody.
Clean track record.
Top
right?
people in each era, right? And then he got out. And then they say he was ducking, but it's like, well, who did he duck then? But Margarito got beat by Cotto. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have probably fought Margarito. I mean, not Cotto. Shane Mosley, right?
And there's also this thing, right? A lot of people wanted to see him lose.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
they want that.
Yeah.
He also made money off of that.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
haters. So
Yeah.
being able to make money off the people who love you, and also being able to make money off people that hate you, is also like on another level, right?
Yeah. But again, people hated Ali.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
in a
okay.
very similar fashion. They hated Ali.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They hated Foreman,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, yo. So, but yeah, Ali. They hated Ali. And they hated Roy Jones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, like,
Yo, Roy Jones was fun.
man,
That's
Roy
the
Jones.
the entertainment value of Ray Jones.
Yeah. Shouts to my man Kevin Johnson too. He was a heavyweight boxer. He was pretty good. He fought Klitschko actually.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, on HBO back in the day. He had great defense too and a great jab.
What do you think of Golovkin? Triple G. So we had an argument before.
Oh yeah,
right?
we did.
You're
Yeah.
saying that he lost, right? Flat out to Canelo.
No.
No. Okay.
No. But I
The first fight. Let's take the first fight. What do you think? Was it a draw? Was it? Do you remember? There was a draw.
I can't remember. Yeah.
There was like a.
They called it a draw, right?
Yeah, they called it a
They
draw,
called it
and
a
then
draw.
one of the judges just scored some outrageous, outrageous number
Canelo?
towards Canelo. Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing in the Mayweather fight. One of the judges scored it a draw.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, Canelo's judging is a little bit dodgy, but I like Canelo as a fighter, man.
Yeah, pretty good.
And that's not his job, right?
Respect.
He's just supposed to fight. But Triple G, yo, he has excellent jab.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very well-rounded boxer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's never even been down, right? So I want to see somebody go to the body, kind of like what they did with Kovalev, and see how he holds up there.
Some chin, right?
Yeah, man, Iron Chin.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like, and it's easy for a fan to say, I want to see you challenge yourself, move up in weight and stuff like that. But then the reality is, this is like boxing is a real thing, man. Like 5 pounds, 7 pounds makes a huge difference, right? Huge difference when you're boxing. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm just glad that everybody that he's on point and he's okay. I think he's got another fight left, right?
Yeah,
Fight or
I
two?
think he's on the way to retirement. He's already like
Pretty good career though.
past the prime, and then he's not, I guess, really into a game. He's more about setting up his own businesses and stuff in Kazakhstan and stuff like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. He's a great fighter, man, for sure.
Yeah, the time when he was rising was fun to watch, when he was like knocking people out. But I can't say like he fought really, really big names except for, who was it? Canelo and who else? That's it, right?
He beat
The Miguel Cotto was there, I remember. But
I like Cotto.
What's it?
I like Cotto.
Yeah,
man.
but what I mean, he was past his prime when he fought him, right?
Cotto didn't fight GG, did he?
Yes, he did. Miguel Cotto?
He fought Canelo.
Yeah, he fought Triple G too. He got knocked
did?
out. Yeah, and I think he got knocked out.
Cotto?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wait,
No, I need to look it up. Yeah, I think I watched. Hold on. Let me just remember. I think Miguel Cotto fought Triple G. I might be wrong.
Okay.
Hold on.
Cotto. Oh snap. Nah, I don't see it.
Yeah, hold on. Miguel Cotto jokes. Hold on. Who really?
That'd be crazy because Cotto was fighting down
Hold
at
on.
47.
He didn't fight him.
No, I didn't think. I didn't remember that fight. So I'm like, nah, I don't think he did. So because Cotto was fighting at 47,
Oh yeah, he didn't fight.
right? That's a bit much.
Oh, hold on. Who fought Cotto then?
Cotto fought Sergio Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
and Martinez had the bum knee then, but Cotto beat him bad. And then Cotto fought Canelo.
Oh, okay.
Cotto fought Mayweather. That was a real good fight.
Yeah, for some reason, he fought Mayweather.
Yeah, that was a real good
I
fight
don't
too,
know
man.
why I think he fought Triple G. As far as big names goes for Triple G, I don't know like really big names.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
But he's a hell of a fight. I know he beat Kell Brook.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he beat Kell Brook. Kell Brook was coming up from 47 too though,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, it's easier like Canelo when he fought Amir Khan. Amir Khan's not no real 150.
Oh
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Canelo's now
Oh,
fighting at 175.
American
Like,
just slipped. You remember how he slipped him with
yeah.
that? Was that an overhand? I believe it was an overhand, right?
Right. He hit him with the right,
Ah,
man. Yeah.
boom.
So you got these weight divisions for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you have the bigger guys fighting the smaller guys, man, it's like you think Canelo's fighting at 175. Mayweather's 147.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mayweather, man,
You know what I mean?
smart dude.
But the weight difference. Canelo probably came in like 170 that night. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a skill level that's just
I like
ridiculous.
his game inside the ring and outside the ring.
Who?
Mayweather's.
Yeah.
Outside the ring, he got everything working for him. Like he didn't
Good
let
team.
nobody pass. Like do some sneaky stuff. I would say good team, right?
No, I think they
Yeah.
had ups and downs at first, but he got it.
He got it
went
figured
control.
out.
Yeah, something like that.
Because like when you hear the stories of Mike Tyson during what's his name? What's that guy's name that
Don
has
King?
hair? Yeah, Don
He just
King.
signed Adrian Broner too.
He's still alive, huh? He's still doing it.
Yeah,
Don King.
Don King, like I think he's like 91 or something like that. I read. So
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, a lot of controversial stories about him, right? Well,
Yeah.
how he like treated Mike Tyson, like how he like a lot of like money, things that
Yeah.
he didn't pay to him or something.
But I wasn't there though. Like,
Yeah, you
so
never know, right?
like, so it's always different perspectives. But there were a lot of dudes saying that stuff too, right? So
But as far as like that business model goes,
Mm-hmm.
right, is very you can say there's some sneaky stuff going on. Like sometimes when certain fights, you definitely think like certain opponent won or lost. You don't know like whether it was fixed or not. Like you can tell that there's something going on there that is not
yeah, I thought
completely
Erislandy
honest.
Lara beat Canelo, right? And it's been crazy. Paul Williams fought. I thought he beat Paul Williams clean too. But yeah, it's business and
Yeah,
it's
business.
marketability and the plans that people have in place. I think is it is what it is. And
Yeah, and sometimes I guess like that business aspect of things, like for people who want to see sport, and the best athlete, that the business aspect gets in the way, of actually seeing those fights that you might want to see because there's a lot of business, involved and
yeah.
yeah.
I think boxing fans are the most selfish fans on the planet. Like they're just like, I don't care. I want to see you beat this dude up. And it's like, you get CTE, brain damage, all kinds of stuff from this sport. So as boxers, we love the sport. We love to see them compete. But now you're in the age of like EPO and all of these different, these different things that people take. So
You
the
don't watch
damage.
UFC, do you?
Occasionally, but and I think it's dope too. A lot of different variables, man. Right, with the kicks and so on, and the wrestling. But yeah, just right now my mind's in a different space.
stuff.
Yeah, different. I haven't even catch. I know it was a fight last night with Khalid Plant and Benavidez. I heard it was really good, but I didn't even watch it. Right, the model is wild. Everything's pay per view now, and I don't know. Yeah, so, but yeah, my mind's been in a little bit of a different space, you know.
I was gonna ask about your stock game. How's it going? Like, what have you learned? What can you tell about? Like, what's the market doing right now? Have you heard about the Silicon Valley Bank?
Oh yeah.
Corrupt. So, is that affecting the market at all?
Yeah, it's definitely. Anytime you have any type of press, right, it's gonna move the market in any direction, right? And so that's where I think people look to capitalize, right? Like if it's positive news, stock goes up, right? Depending on what the overall market trend is, people may offload a bunch of shares then. They scoop them back low, right? Like that all
I
depends.
remember you showing me some, like apps that you use, like with the trends and stuff like that. That was cool. I never ended up learning it, but
yeah, it's you just
do you still do it? Do you still like playing the game, or
nah,
you just
man,
like
not really. It's just
really.
it's like super busy. But I mean, it's it's much more fun than gambling at the casino,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And it's more strategic, and yeah, it's a much better game for me. I enjoy it, man. I think the market is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think with anything you build, with time, you take some losses, you start to learn
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit, and you start to build.
What about the situation with the layoffs? Did it affect the market as well? The layoffs, like massive layoffs of IT workers around the world.
Yeah,
Uh huh.
I think again, like with any type of news or press, like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
anybody's like, "Yo, we're laying off X amount of people,"
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you may see the market react to it, and then there are opportunities right to the downside, and then when that rebounds and goes back up. Because for every announcement, there's an announcement to chase it, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
may say we're laying off such and such, but then you're gonna have earnings at some point, right? And then so uh, I'm not as well cultured in the market
Mm-hmm.
but to speak on it in a way,
Okay.
any type of way
But
that's
you just
professional.
dabble.
But yeah,
It's
so
just
I just dabble, and I
yeah.
enjoy dabbling.
That's good.
It's
That's
fun
good.
for me. Yeah,
Yeah, me, my life is just dabbling. Pretty
yeah,
much everywhere. Yeah.
yeah.
What do they say? Master of none, or
Oh yeah, with the jack of
yeah,
all trades, man. Yeah,
yeah.
I kind
Jack
of
of all
feel.
trades, master of none, and they say still better than master of one.
Yo, the crazy thing is,
Uh-huh.
the more you start talking to people,
Mm-hmm.
and the more you get exposed to different mindsets, you really start realizing, like, man, I don't really know that much.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
a
I got.
scary thing,
I
right?
think I just decided for myself that just pretty much be always ready to say that I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know is probably the only, I guess, reasonable answer to anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like you
Mhm.
be around some freakishly smart people,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, how do you even know this stuff? And then they start telling you about their experiences, and it's like, dang.
Mhm.
It just it's a good way to live. I think being able to get that exposure to people, man. That's why again I don't like living in a box.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes I do. That's not true. Sometimes I
It's all
just get
right.
low, right? But yeah, I appreciate these types of conversations, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool,
Mhm.
right? So tell me more about Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Well, I guess our culture is very unique in the sense that we were nomadic, and it probably maybe not easy to relate to a lot of people because the like a whole lot of like media, TV, and stuff like that. They tell a story about like the basically sedentary lifestyle. We had a completely different
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, and when you have that kind of lifestyle, the culture is different. The
Mm-hmm.
way of people live are different. Imagine when you live a lifestyle of growing crops, right,
Mm-hmm.
and living in a house. This is a very familiar way of living, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine instead of that, you don't grow crops. You grow animals, and you carry your animals wherever they want to eat, and you live with them there. You set up a house-like tent,
Mm-hmm.
and every time this area is done, you just move to a new area,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't come back to that area next year. You want that area to be refreshed
Replenish,
organically,
right?
replenished organically.
Yeah.
A lot of I would say uh, the philosophy wise, a lot of love with the nature, balance with the nature, because
Mm-hmm.
we depend on the nature a
Right.
lot because
Right.
you move a lot. You don't
Right.
castle yourself from the nature,
Right.
and that's why since you set up these wooden tents, you always need to be dependent on nature and a lot of understanding, I would say, probably of the nature and respect to the nature, and the balance is very important. You
Yeah.
don't take more than you need.
Yeah.
You only use what you need to survive, and the relationship with the animals is also on another level. Since you're a little kid, like 5 years old, you get on a horse
Mm.
and you ride.
Yeah.
Imagine when you're 5 years and you're riding just
Yeah.
out in the wilds, and there's almost like no, like it's a steppe. Have you heard of the steppe? It's just like plains. Like if you go to Nebraska or
Yeah.
Wyoming, that's
Yep.
a steppe pretty
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Yeah, just open fields. And I used to hunt with eagles. So
What?
even like the relationship with eagles, like the in that area, in the Kazakhstan area, I would say like the
That's
very
fresh.
very
Yeah.
first people who domesticated the horse, basically started riding horses, and same thing with the eagles. Like uh, one eagle could feed the freaking whole village.
Wow.
Yeah, because they would hunt with eagles. They would
Yeah.
teach hunting. So instead of us hunting,
They have the
we would
eagle.
take
Yeah.
eagles to go hunting. So that's the culture that I'm actually learning myself, because I grew up in Soviet Union, and we were already growing up within the sedentary lifestyle. But even though we were growing up there, there's some cultural, uh, things that would still pass,
Yeah.
through parents to grandparents. They would, teach you stuff about, the nature, about stuff like that. So I'm also like a learning man, since I would say if you want to learn about, nomadic culture, there is no written text, because there were no institution. We were never institutionalized until very recently, right? So a lot of culture, a lot of interactions, or through the word of mouth. So like we're talking right now, I'm
That's
telling you about
interesting.
Kazakhstan, so I'm also learning about my own culture by talking to other people, just based on informations that they have passed down from their parents and ancestors. Another one, I guess, big thing in since my theory is, since we knew how to grow animals, so like for a long period of time, they developed a system of so basically you cannot marry a woman unless you have 7 generations in between, and you have to know your grandparents until seventh generation, and your wife have to know it. And when you start, for instance, if you want to date, you first need to find out whether you guys have at least 7 generations in between, because I think based on when they were, growing these sheep or animals, they started, breeding them together, and I guess based on the breeding patterns, they figured out that if you have enough distance between the generations, you'll get a better, I guess, specimen once.
That's fresh.
Yeah, so a lot of things like that, and I'm not even, I don't even pretend to know all of it. I'm also like exploring. As far as identity goes, since I moved in United States, the identity issue was not a pressing matter. But since I live here, I noticed like a lot of people know a lot about their own culture, right? Like you're talking about the life in Brooklyn, New York, and hood and stuff like that. So, and you're very proud of that identity. You represent that culture. No, what I'm saying is like you live that life. You're emotionally attached to it a lot, right? While me, I was always a wanderer. Who am I? Am I a Russian? Like from Soviet Union who was influenced by that. But over time, I think it pulls me back to the ancestors' lifestyle. I want to know more. I want to know where we're coming from. So these Mongols, you would probably know more about Mongols, but we were not Mongols. But yeah, they're very similar in terms of lifestyle. Yeah. Also, we didn't have a religion as such that would also like there is no like institutional religion in a sense, like controlling. It was more like a philosophy of life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would, I guess, follow certain laws. For instance, there's like this step law, uh, unofficial law. If a man, a wanderer, right, just happens to be, walking by your house, you have to take him inside. You have to feed him. You have to make sure that he's comfortable, and then ask his name. That's just like, and what they're saying is, if my son or me are gonna be traveling,
That's how.
same thing will happen to me, and that's
Yeah.
the culture. And some people would take advantage of it, right? You can already see the implications of how you can take advantage of it. But that's the law of those times. The hospitality, you have to, like, whenever you see a guest coming, like the table has to be full for him, because he might be coming from a long journey. He might not see like a decent food for a long time. So
Yeah.
whatever you have right now, you make sure that he has the thing. So
That's
things like
dope.
that.
That's fresh, man.
Yeah.
So there's so much to pick apart from that, though. So, like, when you're talking about there was no religion, so in the balance of nature.
Religion in a sense of
Mhm.
these institutions,
Right, right, right.
that we like a lot of people like when I hear a word religion, I imagine a church or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
like
yeah,
a church or mosque or a place where people gather and there is a person who actually tells them how to live. Yeah,
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah,
Which is the concept in and of itself is kind of. I'm not sure if anybody is qualified. Like everybody, like you know what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. No, I get you. I get you.
In our sense, it would be more simplistic in a way. Like the older the person is, if he's like old, he has a white beard. Probably he knows more. Like the general idea, maybe you should listen to him. And a lot of culture develops from that. Just listen to your elders.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. I think it's very organic in terms of like how like would society would develop. But then at a certain point, some people decided to, I guess, just say, "Hey, I think we can control, a lot more if we can, gather them and just."
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
while that life is just more, we're just, straight up, just, I guess it's a game between nature and you.
yeah.
And it's also, since the climate is very severe there, it's
Mhm.
almost a game of
Yeah,
life and death
like
between.
survival.
Yeah,
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 for
yeah.
sure. I think it's interesting too. The search for who am I in the culture, and like, and just finding out the roots of who you are. Um, like even that was really what hip hop was about
Yeah.
initially, right? It was fact finding, right? There was a group called De La Soul. A True Goy just actually passed recently too. Yeah, like they had a song called Me, Myself, and I. Just um, seeing the differences and being able to accept it, but always hip hop has been before it was co opted, right? It was a search for the culture, the truth, right? Because oftentimes you're in school, you're hearing things, and you find out later on that it's not factual, or that the way it's presented is presented in a certain way to make you beholden to this illusion, right? AZ said, "Amazed with magic because it's illusions that made me savage," right? So like, it's difficult at this point to find the truth outside of going through yourself. Like, you can read books, and I do whenever I get the chance, but oftentimes you read something today and you read a book 5 years down the line, it's a total contradiction, right? And you're like, yo, that was proven false. And so you start not knowing what source of information to trust. So for you, outside of just speaking to people, what would be the best way to go and find that source of truth?
For me,
Yeah.
reading books. I don't. I guess I don't read books myself. Like I'm not a very good. I was never like my mom. My mom would always tell like read books, read books. Like, read books. But I was never like. I never ended up actually starting reading books. I could read a book, but I couldn't read a book that the way the books were intended to be read.
Right,
Just
right,
be
right.
just be like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could. I noticed myself like noticing patterns, I guess, in certain things, trying to like get information in as many different places and from different perspective as I can, and get patterns and like a nature,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
And as always, like even though maybe you think you're getting a source of truth, but sometimes there's certain situations or certain things that happen to you that could completely just turn it upside down, and you
Yeah,
just go, oh, okay,
yeah,
we'll start from scratch. So where are we at right now, right?
yeah,
You start questioning of uh, certain things that you knew before, whether they were
yeah.
actually valid or not. I don't know. Yeah.
It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
you get to, man. Well, let me ask you this then.
Mm-hmm.
questioning things is questioning your prior beliefs and so on. What do you think you are?
What do you think you are?
Yeah, and like what's that's a it can be a vast
That's
right, but
like I guess I need a little bit more
like as a human
clarification.
being,
As
what
a
do you?
what
Yeah, what
as
is
a
a human?
human, it's like what is my purpose in life, or what am I? What am I? Yeah? Who am I? I guess
What
that's
are you?
my question. Is like in my life, I guess has been all the time like, who am I? I have no idea.
Hmm.
What's my purpose? Who am I? What am I? You know,
Yeah,
that's a very hard question for me to answer. I don't know. That's the only answer I can give. Like, I don't know who I am.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it is. I think that some people don't even really ask the question like that, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a bunch of us do, right? A lot of us do. And I think that's why religion is so strong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you look at as with anything, you can kind of guide somebody where you want them to go if you understand their true desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to know who they are and you can give them something and you can build something around that, then you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I was thinking the other day, you know, when you dream,
Uh-huh.
uh, I feel like you could operate not even just dreaming, but everything we do. I feel like it's operating in different dimensions. Like the things you think about it, there are frequencies that only dogs could hear, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
like a certain animals or so on could hear. There's certain frequencies or levels that only certain animals or things can see,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's so much going on around us that we don't really know how we look in different dimensions or like what our actions are resulting in different dimensions and what the extent of a person is. But it's interesting to consider, right?
Yeah. That's a rabbit hole. When
Yeah,
you go to those depths, like dimensions and stuff like that, it just goes.
yeah.
Yeah. But you started thinking about it recently, or how long was like these journeys of you searching
Man, it's been
a while ago? Mm-hmm.
off and on, right?
Off
Like
and
through
on.
your
Yeah.
entire life, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get pulled into projects and you start thinking of different things. You get
Mm-hmm.
different responsibilities,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so these things they change shape or they take different shapes and along your journey. But it's I don't know. I listen to a lot of NDEs,
Mm-hmm. What are those?
like near death experiences and so on,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay.
So like
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, it's this one podcast I listen to. Actually, yeah, so I do listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
This one is Jeff Mara, right? And
Okay.
so he has a lot of guests on there who have like NDEs. Um, and man, some of those stories are fascinating. Like just things that people have seen,
Mm-hmm.
the things you're able to do, the places you're able to go,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through a near-death experience or through like meditation and things of that nature, and
Mm-hmm.
then how you view yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then like what the physical body is, the
Mm-hmm.
heaviness or the lightness of it, right? And then the separation between the two, the
Mm-hmm.
benefits and the drawbacks, right? It's interesting, and then even from my own personal experiences, right? Like I've been places when I sleep and I come back, and you could feel the portal to knowledge closing, like things that make sense to you outside of your body.
Mm.
That logic doesn't apply inside of the body. I don't know if that makes any
Yeah,
sense,
yeah,
right? So like you can understand like life secrets to a degree, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, this makes sense, and then you can feel it evaporate
yeah. Mm-hmm.
once you settle back in. You ever experienced anything like that?
I would say so.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about it.
Um, I'm a believer like in the DNA, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I think that the DNA contains so much information, and the like the way that even from our culture we still believe in our ancestors in the future in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like I get the messages from the ancestors just because I carry that DNA,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a firmware that's installed in you, and at a certain age, I think it starts like those programs starts activating and starts working. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah, and even like it's funny like when they come to here, like some old people would say, "Hey, say hi to Obama." He's like they say like African people, or like like if the belief is like the Adam and Eve originated in Africa, so like the black people are our ancestors. So we all like, I don't know, for some reason that there's this like this closeness, like okay, like you know what's happening, what are they doing, you know? I don't know, for some reason it's just like this. Yeah. And I think uh, I think the amount of like the for instance your DNA is probably has a lot more information that probably my DNA. You know what I'm saying? So some wisdom that you're saying, I'm almost inclined to listen to it because I was, and you might not realize, you might think that you're doing no, you don't know stuff, but maybe it's just my belief. Maybe it's just because you have something inside you that wants to, you know, come out and manifest itself. It's already been passed down to you throughout generations, and that's made you who you are, you know, until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll see that same like I'd have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's just the synchronicities, right? Like the timing and seeing things, the patterns and the way things align, right? I've been having some conversations, and then immediately you'll start seeing the results of that, or like you'll see something that lines up with it, and you're like, man, this is crazy. But not just me, for everybody that like that I'm interacting with, it's super cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's an interesting life. That's why I don't understand when people say, "Yo, I'm bored." It's like, how are you bored? There's so much to do. There's so much to even if you're just being still.
Yeah.
There's so much in that stillness, right? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've been exploring that in my yoga.
Oh, you've been doing yoga?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
snap.
been almost a year. I'm planning to do a podcast with my teacher in the future.
Oh, how is it?
It's I would say impacted my life in a
How?
lot of ways. I
Tell me,
would
tell me,
say.
tell me.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
Go
interested?
ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
sure.
here's the thing. As always, like life is works in mysterious ways in a lot of times, right? Sometimes, like I was just putting up manifesting into universe, like, hey, it would be nice to wake up 6 in the morning and do yoga, but I didn't do nothing about it. It was just a thought that would just, you know, go out. And one of those days, we moved to Mountain View, and my wife, you know, there's a lot of Indian neighbors and stuff like that. One of the neighbors says, "Hey, do you want to do yoga?" To my wife.
Right.
And I was like, "Come on, let's practice with me." Like, well, we do a Zoom meeting with the yoga teacher that is actually lives in India, and she's been like doing it for a while. She's like a pro. She she went to a has a PhD or master's degree in yoga. You know, there's a university in India that does that.
Wow.
And okay, she then she tells me like, you know, my neighbor told me like, I'm gonna go to. I'm like, oh, nice. Come on, go, try it.
Yeah.
See how it is. Cause I've been saying this, and you got this.
Yeah.
She went there a couple of days, and she goes like, nah, this is not for me. I'd rather go, you know, run, you know, do a couple loops outside. And I was like, can I go? I was like, yeah, you should go. You should try. And I text her. She'd be skeptical because, you know, my wife didn't go. And like, are you sure? And I tried a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then when I started trying, it actually turns out I've been actually pretty good, you know. I'm able to stretch and stuff. And the reason I was able to stretch because I did Taekwondo back in Kazakhstan. So we would do a lot of stretching. So the idea of stretching and that pain, I knew that there's a result at the end. So that's why I knew like when you endure the pain. So when you endure certain things, right? And if you don't know the end result, it's a lot more painful when you actually see the finish line, right? So in that case, I know like what I'm expecting, and it was easier to endure some of those pains, even though I was super rusty because I've been doing this for a while. And we started doing these basic asanas, they call the postures, not the poses, right? Uh, in the beginning, I thought yoga is one thing, right? Just a bunch of posture, like these poses. But a year in almost, I would say it's just like the very surface level of the thing. And I think I didn't even scratch whole lot deep, you know. It's just like I'm also like on the surface level, but just a little bit below. It's just so deep, you know. There's so much going on there, and in a lot of ways, I think me as a practical person, I like to learn things if I'm able, you know, to feel it with my body, with if I'm able to touch, if I'm able to sniff, like with my sensory organs, because those sensory organs are here for some reason. So let's use them, you know, to explore the world. And yoga perfectly does that stuff when yoga can take you to some interesting levels or dimensions through your body, you know, by using your body, by utilizing your body, by doing certain stances. And she explains, you know, certain things. And give you an example. She says, there are elements in your body that came from this world, from existence. Let's say Earth, right?
Right.
Right. What does Earth? What does it characterize? What kind of characteristics that Earth have? Right. Stubbornness, you know, stability. Like you can tell, right? Certain things, and those elements are in your body. That means those characteristics are also in you, be it in physical form, also in mental form as well.
Right.
And same thing with the water, right? We consist of water,
Right.
like almost like 90% or how much, like majority of our body is water. And then what does water characterize, right? Fluidity, you know, adaptability. What else? Sometimes and those like the wind is there. We have air in our body, and also wind characterizes movement. So whatever movement we have, blood moving, you know, all kinds of movement. It has to do with air. If there is no air, there is no movement. Okay.
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 I
And
was, yeah, go ahead.
so and there's also fire.
I was about to ask you. Okay,
Fire in our body. What do you think the fire is in our body, physical body? Let's say.
I was going to ask you the electricity. So we're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the warmth that you produce, right? The electricities. These parts are also fire, and also in mental, like your mental characteristics. Sometimes you get to, you know, fired up. You know, you're crazy, and if any of those elements off balance, it could, you know, reflect on you. You can tell whether a certain person has certain elements out of balance. You know what I'm saying? And then there's this fifth element, which is more conceptual, but it's called space. You know, so the fifth element, space. Yeah, what is space, right? Very interesting concept. And in some beliefs, they think that people think that space is empty, but in fact, the space is the only one substance that has the most energy compared to the rest of the stuff, you know. Or in other words, it could be like the God, the I would say the thing that holds everything together, you know, and everything, and it also expands all the time. Have you noticed space expands? Yeah, we also consist of a lot of space. You know, our atoms. They say there's almost infinite distance between one atom to another atom. There's just so much space between. So we consist of space in a lot of times. So those kind of things, you know, and she would say like, okay, if you have Earth in balance, then you need to be like, you know, doing certain things. I don't remember particularly, but those things, and you can actually do those physical exercises and to, yeah. One story, man. We were opening these chakras, right?
Oh
Yeah. So opening chakras was fun. Was interesting. So basically, they said we're gonna open chakras. Okay. Yeah, I'm trusting the process. I'm not questioning anything. I'm just, you know, following. And we're doing pretty much the same movements that I've been doing for 6 months, because we started doing this after 6 months. I guess she knew like whenever we were almost prepared to go to the next step. Oh, like okay, and we're doing the same movements but with slight variations, almost like subtle variations. Okay, and first chakra, the root chakra, root chakra, has to do with your the very first chakra is developed when you were born. That's the very first chakra, the root chakra. That's where everything starts from, right? It's very like I guess I would say I don't want to say low level, but the base is there, and a lot of organs that are in your root chakra. There is also functionality involved with that chakra as well, right? And I just go through class, don't pay attention to anything, and all of a sudden, next day, I think like I'm having like these weird things happening in my stomach. You know what I'm saying?
Like what?
Yeah, like a like a diarrhea and stuff like that. Like what is happening? And I didn't pay attention. I thought maybe I ate something or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And after like a couple of days, when we had the next class, she goes, "Do you guys have some issues with your stomach?" Because that was supposed to happen. I was like,
Oh wow.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the movements were almost the same we've been doing before, but just a little bit different. Yeah. And then the next chakra, sacral chakra, has to do, with a lot of, like fertility and all that stuff. And dude, I was like, you know what I'm saying? I was crazy, man. I started like
Going after it?
yeah. I almost remembered like my young days when you just begin, when you just don't have anything inside your head except for that. It was almost like that. Somehow she was able to, activate it. What is happening? Like for almost 3 or 4 weeks straight, my wife would be like, what is happening, But then I explained to her, and she was like, okay. And then I talked to actually my yoga teacher, like, hey, this is happening. And I was like, as long as your wife is fine with that, it's fine, And she was fine with that, right? Yeah. So it actually works, the physically and mentally, a lot of things work. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's intriguing. You know what I mean? Especially once you start to experience it, it's intriguing. So, man, there's so many things I kind of want to dive into there too. A side note: J. Rue the Damager. J. Rue the Damager.
Album?
Yeah, but it was this one in particular joint that was crazy where he was talking about he's fighting ignorance, which was dope. So, but that was just a side note. But getting back to this, we were talking about balancing the elements, right? So I was having a similar conversation the other day, and you started kind of answering some of those questions that I had based on that conversation, which is crazy to me. Same thing I was saying, right? Like the answers just start flowing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was kind of trying to figure out how water interacts with the fire, right? And so kind of you just kind of cleared that up for me. What else did you learn in regards to those elements and how they interact?
So both physical and mental aspects, I didn't tell you, but she was exploring a lot more about those. So in certain elements could be out of balance in your body, and there are certain exercises and certain things that could bring you into balance, both physical and mental state. Yeah, the idea is to make sure they're in balance and they're not going out of balance, because if they go out of balance, then that means you tend to lean to certain elements, and that could, I guess, put you obviously off balance and not be a very good, I guess, experience. Besides that elements thing, there is another thing, 6 enemies of the mind, it's called, right? I think those things also mentioned in Bible type of deal. So first, like ego, right? Greed, lust, arrogance, anger, and what else? Something else. But what we came to this experiment, she said, try to write down on each of these enemies what kind of things that happen to you, like for instance ego. Where in what cases does ego happen to you, like when you're very egoistic or arrogance. And write down and say, don't show it to me, just write it down for yourself and make sure you're aware of it, are aware of them. We're gonna do an exercise tomorrow. I wrote it down, certain things. So for each person, it could vary, and certain enemies could affect you more than others, right? And I was laying down. There's this position, right, called Shavasana, laying down, and she's saying, okay, start thinking about this enemy, right? And you start thinking, and like for instance, one of them you're thinking is like perfectly fine, doesn't affect your body, you're just chilling. And all of a sudden, I don't remember exactly what I think it was, like has to do with arrogance. When it came that thing, my body started acting. I didn't want to leave the position. When you land certain when and you want to move the position, but the plan is you need to stay in that position. But I wanted to move. It started aching. It started doing some things. I wanted to itch.
Arrogance, yeah.
Hey, I want to itch. I wanted to do something. And I was like, this is what happened. And she says, the lesson is this. Everybody has those enemies. Without those, we're not going to be humans. This is what makes us human, this drama and this life. But the moment one of those things start to take over you, not you controlling them, but it controls you, that becomes a problem. Yeah. And we carry those, enemies inside your body. Straight translates into your body. And if they're out of balance, that means potentially you will create some, holes in your aura, which will lead you to sickness.
Wow, that's fire. So what'd you do after you start? What was the end of that exercise like?
That realization was like, wow, it's actually like all of the emotions, all of these things that you feel, they translate straight to your body. Just like your body, just straight up.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. And also what she said, there are some, you probably have some certain aches, right? Maybe in the back, maybe in the shoulder, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's saying if certain pain is lasting more than 3 months, usually within 3 months, human body regenerates pretty much every cell. If that stays there, that means it has to do with some mental issue, and it's just like a hole, it's just sucking energy out of it. And unless you will be able to figure out that issue, mental issue, then you won't be able to fix that problem. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's something I saw called spinal energetics, right? And the theory behind this thing is that any type of trauma that you go through in life is stored in the body. So I was like, all right, let me try it out. I did a session, bruh. My dreams, things that I have repressed, I saw them leaving. Like I saw them in my dreams. It was crazy.
So you did the spinal energetics thing?
I did one. Yeah, I did a session.
How does it work? Like,
just the flow of energy through your body, and they can kind of see like.
Is there like a device?
No.
Not device.
No,
they just make you like a meditate. Or?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. You try to relax, and then you see like, and then you go through your breathing, and you see where where you're stuck. You can feel it kind of. And so as you relax to let it go, like when I went to sleep afterwards, man, dude, deep sleep, and I started seeing, like it was crazy, like you see it like leave, like the trauma. So like everything, basically every scar, mental scar, is stored somewhere in your body, and your body tags it. And so if you don't know how to let it go, then yeah, it's probably pretty much equivalent to what you were just saying, which is nuts.
A lot of these concepts, they could be, packaged differently,
Right.
but you can see the pattern, There's a lot of, archetypical patterns, archetypes, that a lot of people experience throughout all the, I guess, religions or spiritual practices. There's a lot of similarity, a lot of them. And I guess one of the reasons I, started doing yoga is just because, India is just one of the oldest civilizations that had the record of all those. It's like a big database for me, that kept it, intact. And if you go deep into like this Indian like Hinduism, there's like almost everything is goes there pretty
Yeah.
much. You know,
Okay.
like everything, every concept is explored. Every like they could believe in anything pretty much. Everything could be potentially a god.
Hmm.
Everybody could believe in variety of things. They have like 33 million gods or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So it's very like inclusive in terms of concepts, and they were just gathering throughout thousands of years, just like, okay, what do you think? What did you see? You think it's like that? Let's write it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is good. I accept that. You think like that? Let's write it down.
Yeah. 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 I think we should all probably
Yeah.
um, make that a goal, right? Like every 5 to 10 years, writing our own little books or chapters to make sure we give to our children so they understand. Because the worst thing to do is to have to start from zero,
Yeah.
right? But then also you don't want to give them false information either, right? But at least from your view, if they can juxtapose against what they're seeing and have an idea, right? Like some things may not click right away, but it'll click later. And then every so often, as we get data, our viewpoint changes, right? So it'd be cool to see where you are 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, you know what I'm saying, and just keep going. Um, and then be able to go back and look at it to see how you've grown and then see what knowledge you've accumulated and how you were actually able to use it
Yeah.
in life for your growth and for the growth of others. It's pretty cool, man. These things,
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
life, man.
If you start talking about it, it's almost endless.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Bro. Hmm.
India is interesting. It's yeah. I have people in Bali right now doing some sort of retreats that they're going to. So
Yeah.
it's one of those places, man.
You should definitely check it out, for sure.
Mm,
Just the way that they're so inclusive,
mm,
it's almost like, you know, you can
yeah,
go. There's no stigma. There's no like exclusivity to it. Just like everybody is welcome, which is cool.
yeah,
But since I like exploring different cultures. Like for instance,
yeah,
like going to Africa
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and just trying to like to see what the culture is like there and just learn something there, learn something from there. It would be so cool, man. Imagine there's like if the life, like if human beings originated there,
mm,
like if we believe in DNA, Adam and Eve, the first people originated there. I can't believe how energetically and like DNA wise is like so much information there, and they might not realize it themselves, but they're just translating it through, you know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
translated through their being already. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Indeed,
yeah. Hmm.
Africa's interesting, man.
Yeah.
There was again back to hip hop. There was a time where they used to wear these African medallions,
Hmm.
right? And and then the switch came with no medallions, dreadlocks, or black fists. It's just it, right?
Hmm.
The gangster glare, right? So not saying anything bad, because Dre made excellent music, and he's been a pillar for the hip hop community
Okay.
too, right? But
Hmm.
like just identifying times for the switches, and times for the switches and these things, right? To pull you away,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, so like it was weird, man. Growing up in school, uh, at a younger age,
Okay.
it was like an assault and attack on Africans, right? Um, like they had like all kinds of derogatory names if they thought you were African, or like even like to the Haitians, right? Because I think Haiti was the first country that successfully defended itself, right? So
Mm.
if you were that, or you were that, or even like Jamaican or Guyanese, there are all kinds of names, and so like the divisions really slowed the growth in the knowledge sharing from a lot of these different places, man. But you know, every day is a new day. Uh,
But even like regardless of these things happening, right?
mhm.
Like the way that you like the African culture, like the community were able to translate it through art,
Oh
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
rap
yeah,
music
yeah,
and it resonates across the world. Not a lot of culture can say like our music is gonna resonate across the world, just like by default. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
saying it.
because you got the
It's just
drums.
it's just that beat, man. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
it's almost like a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? It just
yeah.
resonates, and
Heartbeat. Yeah,
yeah,
beat. Yeah,
uh-huh.
makes sense.
Mhm.
It's an interesting life. And
Mhm.
it's a lot of things to explore, man.
Mhm.
A lot of things to explore. Do you ground yourself? How do you ground yourself?
From like exploring things.
Like as far as like with the yoga aspect.
Oh, ground yourself. Okay, so in yoga, basically, one of the things that I've learned, I'm still working on it, and I cannot say that I've ever will master it, but it's that concept of breathing through pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Oh,
you
through the stretching too.
yeah, when you're
Yeah.
stretching, they're saying if you're stretching and you go like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not no go. You cannot do that. It's no effect. You're just hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing actual stretches, try to breathe
Breathe.
while you
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and only then you will be able to relax, and your muscles will be able to actually
Yep. And
fix
you
it.
stretch
Yeah,
further.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that also works in your mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have like a mental pain,
Mm-hmm.
I all of a sudden sometimes realize myself thinking, okay, let me breathe through this. Because a lot of times when you have these certain emotional situation happening to you, you catch yourself out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
You start breathing differently. Your breathing gets out of control. In yoga, they say the only thing that we can control is our breath. So if you can control your breath, all of a sudden those emotions could also dissipate if you are able to master that control. Sometimes I'm successful. I cannot say I'm always successful. Sometimes the emotion is so intense I cannot control my breath. But in those minor instances, I find myself actually be able to, take care of it and be like, before I would be upset, I would be, pissed off or something. But right now I'm not
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
able to handle it. So
Yeah.
is that does that answer your question?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had that practice of waking up.
Mm-hmm.
For a few weeks, I went through doing some like yoga. Excuse me, some yoga stretches, just like 5 to 10 minutes every
Uh-huh.
day before sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, big difference in my mentality throughout the day.
Yeah.
Right, slipping away from that, you kind of see how that changes. Right, just from your ability to react, just in your ability to understand things, to perceive things on a deeper level, or to even it's difficult to explain, but the way that I would actually absorb or take in the information was different. So it's definitely something that I want to explore a little bit further too. Right,
Yeah.
I actually did it last night.
But that urge, right? That your curiosity. There's something that is almost like calling you. Can you tell? It's like almost like calling you. Like you need to know about this. You need to
Yeah,
be aware of this type of deal.
it's
Can you tell?
wild, man. Yeah, it's I think for a lot of us, right? But the it's the distractions. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like it's you got to work because if you have money as the thing that's going to sustain you and your family, right? You don't want anybody else to suffer because they're not ready for the same journey, right? So you got to provide for your family, and then if it's not there, then it's entertainment, right? And if it's not entertainment, then it's this and it's that. So I guess figuring out the best way to maneuver through it, and then the best way to get to the end result or the end game, so that you can have time to focus on this thing fully is dope, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes about it a different way, or maybe there's similarities in how people go about it, but yeah, it's definitely there. And then you see things. I told you I once had that dream, right, where the dream actually. Okay, I'll just tell you the story. So,
Okay.
I was on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in my bedroom, I just rearranged it,
Okay.
right? So I put like the chair on one side, and then I put the bed on the other side, right? So I go to sleep now. In reality, well, I ain't saying reality because now I'm starting to question what is real, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I was sleeping downstairs on the sofa,
Okay.
and so I fall asleep, And in my dream, I'm walking towards my bedroom, and I'm walking through the hallway, and I get to the door, and I'm about to cross the threshold from the hallway to the door, and I said, "Hold on, wait." It was a dude sitting in a chair, and he was like, "Yo, come here," and it was a lady with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Come here," and he was smiling. He was just waving me to come through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Hold up, I just moved this chair to the other side of the room. The bed's supposed to be there right now." And I'm like, "Hold up, I'm sleeping downstairs on the sofa. He's bugging." Right? So at that point, now I wake up
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, "Oh snap." But I still see the dream. And so the dream now starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? But then now the dream uh, goes into a glass of water onto the fireplace and then disappears. It was amazing. Actually, we got to cut that out the podcast.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, it was nuts, bro.
But that's you think that energy circulation thing helped you, and that
I don't know what that was, honestly, but I've had crazy experiences with stuff like that, and I just find it very interesting. And so, like when I like got kids now and stuff, and still young and developing, so I do try to advance in the right way. But when I have more time, it's definitely be a primary focus, right? Like trying to figure out what all of it means. Right now, I do what I can, but
yeah.
um, it's just a whole like worlds that should be explored. You know what I mean?
There's a saying that says, "In the beginning, there was a sound."
Yes. Oh yeah, sound. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were looking at the cymatics, right?
Mm-hmm. And it so happens, right? The music, right?
Mm-hmm.
How like this aspect, right? We have language, right? We can talk to each other,
Mm-hmm.
but the music is like the language you don't have to learn. Pretty much, everybody knows that language. It's across the board, right? Inherent.
Mm-hmm. You all right? You got
Okay.
COVID or something?
No, no, no. I haven't. I just have this. I'm talking, I guess,
Got a
because.
drink? Okay. You got
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, COVID. I caught. I told you I caught it
Yeah,
before. It was
yeah.
terrible,
I caught
man.
it too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember the way you were freaked out about COVID. You remember?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Like, dude, man, one of my best friends passed, and I had
Yeah,
other friends who even now like can't even walk up the steps. I just saw Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake. He was a wrestler. He caught it like 3 times,
yeah.
and
I
so
got it a
like
couple times.
you caught it a couple
Yeah.
times. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I approach it like this. Yeah, if it's meant to be happening, it's I guess it's what it is.
My lady got lupus, man. I don't want her catching it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's
that's
what I'm
right.
saying. So you know, um, it's when people, like I try to be as aware of other people's circumstances
Mm-hmm.
um, as possible, right? Even on my day to day, like I was doing something, working with some people, and I'm like, yo, I don't want y'all working after like 5:30. Y'all should just go for the evening. Now that's something that's coming genuinely from the heart,
Okay.
but you just never know how it affects other people or how they're gonna receive it. Like some people may take that as, but now you're stopping me from being able to reach my full potential. Other people may take it as, yo, thank you for caring about my health, right? And so the reason
Oh,
why,
I see.
yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
and that goes back to the first point that we started making, like, well, how do you know that what you're doing, even if you're doing it with the best intentions, is the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It's just wild.
There's this phrase I've heard recently that been kind of lingering about. It's called. It goes like this. You name me, therefore you negate me.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
from being all that I am or something, right?
yeah,
Everything
for
else.
from being all that I could be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very interesting thing because there's certain things, right? When you think you know a person,
Mm-hmm.
you think you know a person,
Mm-hmm.
and he may be just like that for you, and when he interacts with you or in that area in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
but he could be completely different person in
Oh
some
yeah.
other
Oh yeah.
circumstance, which is also makes it so diverse and so fun. Even like with these podcasts, I catch myself talking to completely different people from different areas of life,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed myself being a bit different compared to you know depending on who
Oh,
I'm
who you
talking
talking
to.
to?
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
like we have to adapt,
Yeah, I was just thinking this the other
to
day.
environment.
That's crazy. Go ahead though. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, those patterns emerge all the time, man. They're archetypical. Everybody, I think, experienced those.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just funny the timing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
timing
It's
is funny.
crazy. I was just having it. I was just thinking, like, man.
Yeah. So and then there's this one guy who told me once, we wear masks,
Mm,
right?
mm,
But some people just like to stick to this one mask,
mm,
and then the moment that mask is off is very painful. It goes
mm.
out with the meat,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
And some people are very easy of and that also like stuck with me because I felt like I'm one. I always felt like I'm one kind of a person,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and once I guess once I exposed myself to myself, I was like it was hard to take off that mask. That
Mm.
realize that no, you could be more than that. You don't have to be that one particular with these particular values and just get stuck to them. You know.
What were the differences in values?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe certain things that I would think that were not acceptable. I cannot pinpoint it, but let's say, I don't know. Uh, well, it might be controversial, but right now I'm not like that. But I don't know. Let's say I would think certain way about certain. Let's say, for instance, due to my upbringing, with this feminism thing, right?
Mm,
Like I believe I used to believe like okay, like the man and woman, like the interactions between had to be certain way,
mm.
and then all of a sudden I thought it doesn't necessarily has to be like that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Because maybe due to some upbringing, due to some let's say environment, let's say culture, let's say
Mm.
and then sometimes people just get stuck with those masks and they want to keep it and they think that these are identify them and that's who they are,
Yeah,
but in reality it doesn't necessarily have to be.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I mean, maybe certain things are still there, but I think I became a little bit more, I guess, flexible in a way that in expressing, and I could almost take almost any opinion, be it controversial or not, just into considerations and try to understand from that perspective. You know?
it's a dope way to grow, man. It's a dope way to grow. Everything has pluses and pros and cons, right? But it's pretty cool. I think with the mask thing, through different times, like I first wanted to be a basketball player. Got really good at basketball. I thought I was an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I wore that mask for a while, right? Then the next thing was I wanted to be a rapper. I wore that mask for a while, right? And so like I'm sure there's things before that and things after that um, that you wear these masks, and throughout the way you take up these different causes, like different religions or whatever the case, you become that. Um, and so it's cool when you look back, but we were just talking about tattoos. My oldest boy went and got a tattoo, and
Okay.
I was just thinking, like, I was telling my daughter, like, you watch TV shows, certain TV shows you love now.
Okay.
In a year from now, you're gonna be like, that was trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to watch that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was like, well, when I'm 18, can I have a tattoo? And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. You probably just want to consider it, right? Because you look at the different phases in life, and some things like you gain from it, but then you grow out that shell and you morph into something else, and then you take that. So just it's wild. You got to be cautious in what you actually give yourself to. And again, it goes back to that dieting thing, what you're listening to, because you can get hooked on one phrase or one word, and you can go and live somebody else's dream. Like, why'd I want to be a rapper? It's because I was inspired to rap based on somebody else's stuff. But really, what
Yeah.
if that wasn't even my dream? What if my mission and my purpose was something else? Now I'm
Yeah.
caught up living your dream,
Yeah.
right? And I'm wasting my time. Not necessarily wasting it
Yeah.
because it's going to have impact in other places, but it's kind of like to be able to be still enough to really get your signal and get your message right, get the messaging right for your own growth. Otherwise, you'll just live other people's lives in imitation of them, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so who knows? I mean, that could be right, that could be wrong, it could be both, but
At the same time.
and everything in between. So
Everything, everywhere,
yeah, right.
all at once.
Dude, when we shut this, I'm gonna tell you about this other dream I had. It was nuts.
Okay.
It was like I made a mistake and pinched somebody when I got in an area, and then they ended up pinching me back. And in the dream, I was like, "Oh snap! Pinch me to make sure I'm awake." And then everything that happened afterwards was crazy.
You were still in dream.
Yeah. I'm sleeping, but I was aware, and so it was fresh. And it's because I was like, there's another thing I could tell you that I think. I think like people that are in your lives. Like I saw somebody in the dream, and in that dream, this individual, it became clear to me that in whatever, okay, I don't want to go into too much, but like so you, alternate lives, alternate realities, things of that nature. Some of them you have the same name. That's why I think
Oh,
the
okay.
birthing name is actually somehow or another becomes important, right? Excuse me. The somehow or another the birthing name is important because in multiple lives, I don't know if it's dimensions or alternate lives, you'll have the same name and you can get the verification when people call you if you're actually paying attention. So I don't even want to get it's
Yeah.
nuts, but
Okay, here's the question about this whole thing.
but
Do those dreams bother you? You think is this something outside of you, or you think this is something that you're searching for? What do you think it is?
it all depends because I think there are different types of dreams. But sometimes it does bother me, right? Sometimes it excites me. Sometimes it's confirmation. Sometimes I change things, or okay, let me not say that. But sometimes yeah, it's just a wide range of things. Like it's very interesting though.
It's interesting. You've been, talking about these dreams. So when did they start happening?
I've
When?
always been dreaming.
Oh, you've always been dreaming. Okay. And to like it's been at a certain level of intensity, right? That could actually leave you thinking afterwards. With like, what did I just saw, right?
Yeah, dude, you can have a dream and wake up with the physical scars.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was.
That is some like kind of voodoo kind of stuff, no?
I think traveling, man.
Oh, really?
Like you get to a space where like again you start believing certain things, and then they play out. Like the mind is so powerful. Like none of this may even exist. Stuff that we're talking about. Like it just may be just in your head, but then it plays out like it's really. We gotta cut this whole section. No dream talk here, but like you know what I mean. It plays out. It plays
Why?
out. Man.
Why? You're embarrassed of this information, or why you think people would think something weird?
No, it's not necessarily
Yeah,
so
it's
much about
fine.
other people.
Right?
It's more so like
It's worth you experiencing. I mean, a lot of
yeah.
people experience different type of things, and it could be weirder and weirder.
No,
Yeah.
I've definitely seen much weirder things in like
Yeah.
actual like being
So,
around
that's
certain
fine.
areas. But like I think with this, there's so much that I just don't know
Yeah.
that I'd rather know a little bit more before
Before you actually
before I
came to
actually
some
have these
conversation.
conversations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess my question is: you think it's something external or internal?
The dreams?
Yeah. Is it coming within you, or is it like something that kind of invades your uh, your space? What's your feeling like?
That is an excellent question, and I guess that goes back to what you think too, right? Because there's a philosophy where they're like, first of all, understanding who you are. Are you the drop in the ocean, or are you the ocean itself, right? And then is everything that's contained in that ocean contained within you, or are you contained within it, right? So, and then it's like, how do you even get thoughts? Are you picking up other frequencies, right? Or are you generating
Those
the thought
frequencies.
and then having those frequencies, right? Like right? Is it? Are you just picking it up like a wave, right? But I don't.
But if you would, based on your feelings, what would you say? It's not about, I guess, whether it's like we're gonna find out what it is. It's just, I guess, maybe like what you feel like. Is it from outside? Like, what are you protective, or are you? Is it you that's generating that information, and you're kind of indulging and diving into it yourself, and then you're coming back and you're trying to justify that this has been weird. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it's both.
It's both.
Because I've had situations where like I could, okay, you can pretty much prepare your base for takeoff based on what you're consuming during the day. So like if I want to go and I want to start investigating quantum physics or something along those lines, and I watch a movie about it, I may read a little bit about it, right? And before I go to sleep, I may think about it, and then as I'm going drifting off, then now I automatically go into a space in the dream world where like I'm dealing with quantum physics and I'm looking at math and stuff like that,
So
right?
you can put yourself into a trance.
Well, I think we all could, right? Like if you
Okay.
had a stressful day and you've been gossiping all day, like this blah 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 blah, then you may have those type of frequency of dreams, right? But from what I've noticed recently though is the things that you consume throughout the day. And if you have that and you set that intention, then you'll go to one of those spaces that, what I mean, when you rest. If you rest early enough, especially if you do like the stretching, like you were saying, right? Then you pretty much, it's like your launching pad into that particular arena because it's vast, it's infinite, right? The places you can go. But again, I'm not really a specialist yet, so I don't want to mislead you, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just from my little experience
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool though. Like,
So can you say that you can get into a trance like this almost by the will?
me,
Just
no,
no.
I don't, nah.
But you can't get into trance a lot, right?
Not a trance.
Almost dreamy state.
I
Yeah.
there was one space in life when I was younger where I was dealing with a lot, and so when I lay down, I'd just be laying down and I'd just meditate on some stuff, and then you would
You
just
just
go.
go.
Yeah, and so it's like that space right in between sleeping and being awake, and then you end up being asleep. But that's when you're still conscious and you're still aware of what's going on.
What
Right?
does it sound like?
I don't recall
I
sounds.
have I, I have a feeling like when I get into this trance state, it sounds like this,
Interesting.
like like waves, the boom 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 boom, boom, like music,
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. To
Well,
my
especially when it gets intense. I almost feel the waves, just like I hear them, like
yo, that's wild. Cause it'll
yeah.
make sense. Especially if you're going more internal. I don't recall hearing any sounds. I'll tell you what though. Like one time, I was I was flying, and I had these two people with me. We were flying, and I could see the entire Earth, and I knew everything that was about it. It was super cool. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna stay here with you guys. Right?
So
And I had wings too on my back.
you had like that singularity experience. You felt like you were everything. You knew everything.
It
Was that a
wasn't.
moment like that? No.
No, I
Okay.
knew everything, but not everything. I had to think about it, and then it'd be there. But the thing was, I was with these two other beings, and they were flying with me. Right? Sounds wild, I know. But I was just like, nah, this is beautiful, so beautiful. I'm not going back. I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
And then they grabbed each one grabbed my arm, pulled me back. These are just intense dreams, right? So don't. But and pulled me back. But I remember feeling like I'm coming back into my body, and I felt the heaviness. It felt like rocks in my leg at the time,
Yeah.
right? Because I used to smoke and all of this stuff. So like it just felt really really heavy, and it felt like I remember feeling like it was unsettled even after they left, right? like not that I saw them, but like you feel it, like oh they're putting me back in, and I just felt unsettled, like oh man I got to do this again, and I started feeling like this was a burden, but it's not. It's a gift. I mean, either way you look at it, it could be whatever you desire. But the human mind is so powerful that whatever, like these thoughts, man, they seem to somehow materialize in life. It's like if you read a book and you're looking at the main character of a book, right? You start to somehow feel like you're that character. Not that I read that often, but I try to, but not. I don't really get the chance. But from my experiences, if you read if you're watching a movie or reading a book, you kind of align yourself with that character if you're emotionally and mentally invested in it, right? So things of that character may experience, you may start experiencing in your life, right? If you're like a secret agent and you start moving like a secret agent, you tinted windows on your car, whatever you may
Yeah.
want to do to feel that alignment. So yeah,
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that stuff. Even though you kind of feel conscious about them, but that's cool.
yeah,
I guess, I mean, if you wanted to share, that means it needs to be shared, you know? Why not? Don't worry about what people, you know, would perceive or whatever. Uh, a lot of people will understand, will resonate. A lot of people will not resonate, and that's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter.
I'm a private dude though.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
real to myself nowadays. It's been cool just being tucked away.
But being private at the same time, there is this thing, right, that you want to share. No?
Yeah, a small group of people I
Yeah,
can share
small
things
group
with.
of people.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And because the conversation then usually leads to uh, some sort of growth, right?
Yeah.
And some sort of additional awareness or something that I can contemplate later on.
By saying private, you think if you share some of these, you know, experiences in your life, you think it could be used against you?
Oh, yeah, possibly. I
Possibly, right?
think anytime, like if you have an idea,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you want to go start a business right
Mm-hmm.
now, right? It's usually in your best interest to keep that to yourself until you actually make
Make
progress on
private.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you put it out there, now it's really out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one thing I've learned, what may be best for you may not always be best for somebody else,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So you take, like, take a job for instance, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
may be, I think I mentioned this point earlier. You may be trying to go for a particular position, and or you may be in a particular position, and then you have people who feel like they should have that position, so they're going to do things to be uh,
I get it.
against your best interest, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
they feel may be in their best interest. So you have these weird dynamics that are always at play. So like you get into spaces where you overanalyze or you're
Yeah.
inconsiderate, and you're like, okay, well, what's in the best interest of everyone here? And oftentimes it's just not to say
Yeah,
anything.
that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Totally.
So it puts you. I don't want to stay in the space of fear, but sometimes the short-sightedness of individuals, they don't even realize how it works against them. So it's a protection mechanism for not only just you and your family, but then also other people as well. Because you put a stake out there, a dog's gonna go get it, right? But they may
Yeah.
not understand really what that stake is. The stake may just be an illusion to what it actually really is, or it may be that and something else. So you go after that stake, and
Mm,
you know what I mean. You can get sick,
that
right?
makes sense.
It may feed you. It all depends. So you know, you just gotta be careful with how you
Yeah,
move.
I gotta be careful.
Yeah, word. Crazy
I
compliment.
think
Yeah.
I'm at this point right now. Before I was also like this super private, you know. I scared to share, but I think I'm at this point. It's something like it just wants to come out. I don't know what it is. It just wants to come out, wants to share, wants to put it out there. Before I've been not putting it out there. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even back to the rapping, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there were certain rhymes that I was just like, man, dude, I gotta get this out there. This is
Yeah.
just because it was so what you call it. But now in hindsight, a lot of that stuff I don't want out there,
Oh, okay.
right? Like through time, right? Through time, it's always going to change. Like you look at some of these guys who put stuff out there now, a little bit going crazy because they're realizing the power of their words and the power of their influence. And so, like, when you ask me about how I feel about today's hip hop, you start looking at the violence in it, and you start looking at the escalation of murders, the escalating murder rate. 10 years from now, when they realize the power of their music and the words and the influence that had, they got to face it.
Is the violence like in rap still prevalent?
Man, New York is crazy right now. The
Oh, okay.
drill rap right now, dope beats too. But like it's a lot of it's a lot of murder there. So a lot of these dudes when they mature in mentality, they're gonna really have to look at this in a mirror and then deal with it, right? And so like same with me, like I was spitting rhymes and I was saying all kinds of stuff, and it's like, man, at one point I was hoping that the music came down. Now I'm more grateful that it didn't, because if the wrong kid would have heard it and then they would have done something based on that music, then I'd have had to hold that L. I'd have been responsible for it, and I don't want that type of impact. You know what I mean? So just thinking what we say, thinking through what we say carefully, and what we're putting out there is also important to me. You know?
Yeah. But with that type of logic, you can also go without saying anything, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There is also one interesting saying that stuck with me in a lot of ways. Have you seen the movie Matrix?
Oh yeah, yeah,
The,
yeah,
the
yeah.
very last movie, Revolutions, and at the end, Agent asks him, why you keep persisting? You already lost. There is no hope. There is nothing left. But why you keep persisting? And his answer was, because I choose to. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
So that like one of the realizations that you can come to, not only the only thing you control is your breath, the only thing you have in this life is just your choice. Right?
I wrestle with that.
You will wrestle?
I
How would
wrestle
you
with
wrestle? You think you don't have a choice?
I wrestle with that. I think sometimes yes, and then sometimes no. Like for example,
But the way you want to live or the way you want to go about things, I think you inherently made a certain choice. And no matter what happens, sometimes you get to stick with the choice. It could be even against everything, against everybody, or me against the world, maybe, or something like that. But it could be just a choice, right?
well, yeah, but then at the same time, up to what point was it your choice, right? Like if you went out today, right, and you say, okay, you make the choice to go out, right, and somebody shoots, and that bullet hits you. Was it your choice that bullet hit you? You made the choice to go out, but now you're in a space where you may be totally unaware of what's going on, and that bullet hits you. Was that your choice?
I'm not talking about that. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, for instance, there could be some forces, right, that try to do like make you bend, right, a certain way, like and for certain things you think, yeah, okay, I'll go with it, but there are certain things that you go like, no way I'm doing this.
And you got that
And
gut feeling. So.
yeah, no matter what, I'm dying here. You know, you do whatever. It's just my choice. I'm dying here. But I'm not doing this or something like that. Do you have that feeling? That I'm pretty sure every person has certain things that they'll be willing to die for. I don't know.
Yeah, you know. And tell me if I'm off on what I'm saying. Like I had a friend. I mentioned it earlier in the conversation. One day, we were in the hood. She came up to me. She was like, she started wilding a little bit. She was doing some things that I was like, you pushing red line, lady, right? But you know, she said she was I noticed a pattern of irregularities, right? Like she was getting into certain types of trouble that I was like, man, she's one of the smartest people I ever met too, at a very young age. And she was like, yeah, I went to some sort of a psychic, and the psychic told me that if I don't, she had the lines in her hand, We all have lines in our
Yeah,
head,
yeah,
but
yeah.
she said if this line crosses this particular point, there's no coming back. So I need to stop doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, well, whatever that is, man, I'm hearing things, so, tighten up a little bit. She died from internal bleeding after getting in a fight
Mm-hmm.
about a year and a half later or so, right?
Wow.
So, excuse me. But yeah, it sometimes I just, you know what I mean? Because it's a lot of things that make sense, but then on another level they
It
won't,
doesn't.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like depending on your level of perspective, not like one level's better than the others, but just where you're standing in that space, right? So like, I don't know. Did she have a choice?
Yeah.
Who knows, right? But she's no longer here.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are interesting data points, right? And like one decision could change your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are times where it's like, okay, there's one situation where I was just driving, I had my people with me driving in the car. Car was coming head on. I couldn't, there's no way I could move. I couldn't get out the way. The car picked up and just moved to the side, and the other car just went through. So me and my homegirl that was with me, we were like, oh snap. Right? It wasn't my choice to move the car.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit a little bit of a misunderstanding here.
Okay.
These are circumstances that happen to you. Sometimes that they're out of your control.
Right.
I think I'm talking about the choice that people make consciously. Certain choices, like for instance, let's say when you have a child, for instance, right, or you a children, or you a kid, and when the parent like tells you you have to do it like this, so it imposes your will, his will upon you, or you impose your will upon.
Right.
There is almost 50% whether he's going to choose to accept it or not choose to accept it, right? You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
You can even restrict some of these, options to him and tell him like, if you're not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. He could bend and he could try, but there's
Still a
definitely a choice in there.
Right.
And some people could be very, stubborn in that particular case. He could go, I don't care. And what you gonna do? You're gonna kill me? Just go ahead and kill me. I don't care. There are probably cases like that, right?
Right.
I'm talking about that particular choice. So every person, I think, has that choice. And sometimes, certain things, when external forces or like they try to bend you or try to kneel you, and sometimes you go, it's okay, it's not a big deal. I'll kneel for this. Yeah, it's okay. But sometimes there's certain things that are just like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
You do whatever you do.
Stand
Right
on
now.
your square.
Yeah, you do whatever you do. It's just like this. I had this experience. So we were like young. We were just smoking weed and just sitting there like in the block, and there just got a couple dudes coming in, very drunk, and one of them pulls out sawed off, and the other one had a Makarov. You know Makarov? And they started, picking on us. And he pulls out and just puts it right in front of my chest, right here. Like I had like 1 foot.
Yeah, that feeling feels crazy.
Yeah. And I thought I would react certain way.
You were calm?
I was very calm.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience?
Oh yeah.
I thought I would react like, bro, what the hell? I'm like 15, like a feet away from this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I accepted it.
Yeah.
I accepted it's gonna happen. That it means to be. I'm like, and he asks me, would you be able to stand for one bullet? That's his question. That's what kind of Kazakh people would ask questions like, would you be able to stand to survive? I'm gonna send a bullet. I'm saying I would say I probably not gonna be able to stand. Yeah, but I'm not saying like please, because I think also there's this certain thing. If you start doing like begging and stuff, he's gonna be capitalizing on that stuff.
Yeah, because then he feels he's more in control.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm saying you can do it, but I don't think it's gonna be you know, I'm gonna survive. I think most likely I'm gonna die. And then he started, you know, he didn't expect that reaction from me, and he started, you know, going a little bit conflicted within himself. He didn't know what to do. Like he cannot put like impose his will on me
Right,
because
right.
I'm like okay, sounds good. So you're saying, so have you had experience before? Have you killed a person before? He's like, yes, I killed a person before. I'm like, okay, so you had an experience taking life of other person, right? And he's like, I can tell he was lying,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, and you think you're ready to take another person's life and take that responsibility? I was
Just
just
asking.
going. It
Yeah,
was just
yeah, yeah.
going off like that, you know. And he was like, "Bro, you're like, you like, yeah, you're bullshitting me, blah blah blah." And he's like, eventually, it just backed down.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the friends that were sitting with me, they were like this. But I found out myself. I thought that was like a person that was scared. You know, I never liked conflict and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But there are certain life situations that I'm between life and death here.
Yeah, it
That
gives you a certain level of clarity.
I don't know. It was just like all of
Yeah,
a sudden I didn't know like I had this in me. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
can feel
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting. But before I thought I was just a guy that would be, you know, scared in this kind of situations. Because I'm a guy that avoids this kind
Conflict.
of
Yeah,
shit. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like I'm scared. I don't want to deal with this. But when it's like a push come to a shove, right?
But that's your mask.
You think so?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, maybe.
That's your mask, and so similar to the situation I had in Jersey before I moved. I was like, we were at this bar, dude. I was in a great space too, man. This is when I started realizing like about the ego and forgiveness and the freedom and stuff like that. And we went to this bar. I didn't really want to go, but I was like really in a settled space, right? Little dude came out. He had a gun. Gun didn't have any bullets though. He was standing next to me. Well, long story short, me and a couple of my homeboys, there's like 5 of us, and 2 of them, he pointed the gun at my man. my man, my man it was crazy. So anyway, they ended up taking the gun from him or whatever. But the point was like, in those situations, you're able to kind of sense what's going on, and you're able to see through it with a lot of clarity, right? And so the fear is gone, but there's like an overwhelming like, it's like a baseline connection to the impulse or the pulse of life, right? Where there's more of a knowing, right? There's more of a strength, and I think so. Anything beyond that, like the fear, the indecision, and stuff like that, those are the masks that we're wearing. For what? I don't know. A cat and mouse game, peekaboo. I don't know, but that baseline. Because you just in recollection, in hindsight, you go back, you felt like you were in line, right? Like as soon as I was like that calmness, you were like, yeah, I was really calm. I know the feeling. So I think that's really what it is, and I think the other things are the masks, right? We look at personalities that we get from TV or whatever, or our parents or whatever, that, you know what I'm saying, and we're like, oh yeah, I'm scared about this, right? Or like,
Yeah.
these are this, and when we play those until the situation gets real, and we have to ground ourselves and align ourselves with our true selves. So then once you do that, then it's like, oh, you can always remember who you were, how you felt in that moment, and the
Yeah.
alignment that you were in. And I think that's your real, partially your real, right? Because I think the real is actually much, much
Yeah.
bigger. But that's, you know what I mean? And more so in that alignment, and the other things are the masks.
And it makes me wonder if should that situation happen in like now or like in any time in the future, how would I be able to react? Because that was a different time. That was a different me. I didn't have kids. I didn't have, you know, family responsibilities. I don't know how am I gonna react if that thing happens to me. I remember he would actually charge the gun, you know, pull it out and just pull.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, I think that the most dangerous type of man is a family man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're naturally inclined to be the protector. This is why you still try to make the right decisions, like, yo, nobody gets hurt. But then you start thinking about it, like you try to go rob a family, man, especially while his wife and his kids are in front of him, man. You probably gonna end up in some serious issues, right? Because that protection mechanism, that hunter comes out, right? That beast will come out, but we never know. You know what I mean? So hopefully we never know, right? Like you don't get in those situations, but a family man is a dangerous man to me. Right? Because now you have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like somebody who's just trying to get it, just trying to get for the thrill of a quick bribe or whatever the case may be, there's no real conviction in that.
Yeah.
Right? Well, in some cases. Right? But it's interesting. And it's interesting that other people have those types of situations and they could relate to that level of calm. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, even thinking about it now, like what?
I remember feeling that I just accepted it. Like, okay, at any time, the moment this happened, at any time, it could be an accident. It could happen. It could not be. It may not be his intention. It could just happen. It just trigger could be pulled, or the bullet just shoot itself already. Like things happen like that, right? And I just, here we are, and I guess what I'm gonna do now. What's who I am? I guess what's my reaction? And my reaction was not to run away from it or shy away from it. I just okay, and I want to see you now inside you. I want to see you. Are you really? I was like, are you really like for reals right now?
Yeah. And you realized he wasn't, right?
Yeah. I realized he wasn't. I that was the question where I was like, do you want to take responsibility right now?
So let me ask you then. Remember we talking about the drop of water in the ocean.
Yeah.
And you're able to read him from your perspective. Are you both the same now?
Yeah, could be. Like I had that certain expectation from him. Like, are you like for reals right now? Like you're drunk, you're young, and you're making stupid decisions. And are you ready for this decision in your life? Yeah, that was my question, I guess.
And you were automatically getting the answers, even regardless of what he said. Yeah.
He was super like.
That's wild, man. So I wonder in those types of situations if you affect the outcome on each side, because now you're realizing that you're one in that space. It's crazy. Yo, man, somebody could come with the worst intentions, but if you, like I was telling you with the master teachers, right? That actually gave you an opportunity to learn something and to be one with something, which is so fresh. And he came with, even if his intentions of choice were to come with malicious intent, I don't know. That's what I meant earlier too. Like if there's something that's perceived to be bad, how do we know that it wasn't the right thing? Right? How do we know that because everything is so mathematically aligned. If he were to say, "No, I'm not going to go over there and do that," then you wouldn't have had an opportunity to really be in sync with yourself at that moment and understand your space and his space, and that there could potentially be one space, right? Or so that you're understanding the answers, right? So it's crazy, man. I guess.
I had a feeling I was fully in control.
Yeah.
Just that feeling you get sometimes. Just fully aware and in control.
But how far could that space extend? Because it could extend to everybody. Yeah. Could it extend to another 5 people?
Maybe.
These are the things I'd like to explore. You know what I'm saying? Like, and how did you know? Because at certain points, I'm sure that you could read somebody else's thoughts in that space easily, right? Yeah. So, like, what's the limitation, and is there a limitation even for being able to have that type of interaction? Because you would assume before language, there was still communication. We don't know if that communication was.
I think it was a lot more faster, a lot more sophisticated, and a lot more to the point. I have a feeling it was like that. The information flow was a lot more faster.
You ever get a download?
Download of what
Information.
information? Like myself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to think so. Yeah,
It's overwhelming,
yeah.
right?
Like with the distractions we have right now, with
No.
the noise.
No. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do I say it? So like that, like let's say you're meditating. Did you ever get like a download of information?
Oh, yeah, we're talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer in that. I feel like there is a knowledge out there,
Mm-hmm.
and we just tap into it. It's like a cloud type of deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
we always create something that we already know. So we created cloud thing,
Mm-hmm.
but we just commercialize it and make
Mm-hmm.
money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a device, and this device in and of itself doesn't have that much information, but it can tap into that information. I think we also like that. We are just in this hardware form walking, and we can tap into this information. And like these, Nikola Tesla used to say, he called it ether. He could get inside ether and outside ether on his will. And some people would get those experience once in a while and get a message and come back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some people like Leonardo da Vinci or like some like great people that they would be. I think they used to be able to tap into this freaking knowledge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's man, that's fascinating. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think it's all different kinds of ways to do things, and
So you think you get that all of a sudden after a session of going out there to the ether, you come back and you're more knowledgeable?
I had a download once.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like the way it felt. I was laying
Uh-huh.
around the same time that I was telling you about that last thing, and then it's like you hear it, but it's not through the ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it's like a bunch of information just dropped, boom, right on your chest, like by your heart space, right? And boom. And it's a lot of information, but it happens in an instant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like a ton of information that you just, you got to start deciphering. And it could take years to actually open it up and decipher it. But it's just like, you go day to day in life, and if you're just doing like the basics, you miss out on an entire world or worlds of experiences that you may or may not choose to ignore. Like you can miss out on a lot, man. And I think that's the beauty of life, is being able to really get into the exploration of it and having these types of conversations and figuring things out. Because I don't even like, how you feel about time travel.
Time travel. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. So, by time travel, what do you mean? You think is it possible for a being just to go back in time without any consequence to or go forward in time? You think?
Well, it
The
depends on.
only way I guess it depends. Like if we come physically, I've heard like the faster you go, you stop time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too. But I don't know. Like at
Mm-hmm.
one point in life, I was like, time can't possibly exist.
Okay.
And I got to a space where I was trying to figure out, well, how is it? Right? And so that was my study for a second. Like, well, how is it the time? Like, how can I validate or verify or prove that time doesn't exist? And then, like, in my older self, my more recent years, I've come to the realization, like, I don't, time exists within a certain space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and I think time is collapsed on top of each other, or like, right? It's circular, where you have like a present, past, and a future. And even within those, you have alternates,
Yeah, you're coming
right?
back to these parallel dimensions type of deal, right? So, in theory, right, since we're in this dimension, in this space, there's time, but there could be another dimension or no space, and there could be no time, right?
Right. Well, there could be other ones that are chained to this one. Every like, right? It's things that, like, how some people see things that other people don't, and they could be walking amongst you right now, and some people will see it, some people won't. So I don't know. I think just the definition of time in itself is something that we got to kind of figure out. But it's definitely something that's looped in that keeps things in order, right? It keeps it in a specific order, in a specific. There are rules, I think, right? And when you get, I don't know who the rules were implemented by. I don't know how far you could stretch them, right? But I think it's interesting to consider and experiment with whenever you get the opportunity. Because, I mean, you live and you see things that are just like crazy, like inexplicable.
Have you been to Africa?
Nah, nah,
Okay.
nah.
Well, I've been to Kazakhstan. I told you, right? In January, and I went to India very
Oh yeah,
recently.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
This time I went to Kazakhstan. The the experience was intense. Like it was mystical. I wonder if you were gonna go to Africa back to roots. Do you know originally where in Africa you're from or something?
No, my
No.
family, we actually like my grandmothers were Indian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. My good
Oh,
grandmother from
oh, maybe that's why you're getting all kinds of this mystical stuff.
so it's Indian, African, West Indian,
Yeah.
and then even Portuguese and some Europeans in there. So like that's why like me, the racism thing is I see it, I understand it, but then I also right like there's such a mix of like
Have you been there ever?
where India.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I've been to South America,
I
spot.
think there is some correlation between where your, I guess, roots or culture comes from. When you go there, like the vibrations you catch from there is pretty
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
intense.
Damn,
Yeah.
that was a thought that I had, and I totally forgot. I'm glad you said that. That was from years ago. I remember thinking like I wanted to go
Uh-huh.
to certain like to chase it down or whatever. But I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. Go on. What
Oh
were you
no,
saying?
no, it's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I think like you're based on what I'm hearing right now, you like kind of trying to explore these things that are not I would say ordinary, like normal, as one would say, like this just normal life that everybody agreed upon. Something that maybe not a lot of people talk about or very rarely talk about, because those are things that are not easily, I guess, provable. It's more of on the concept side, and you can philosophize on this. It's not like this is water bottle, and we agree upon this that this is water bottle. A lot of people would have their own approaches to one or another thing, and I wonder if because what I'm saying is I've been also in the search, and when I went back to like Kazakhstan, to the land, to the people, like the energy you feel from them, I started experiencing life differently there,
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
because of the culture, because of these energy. I don't know. I think I became sensitive, like in terms of like I could feel like energies
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people and
yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah,
and I felt very intense energies
yeah,
there.
yeah. That's
So
how it is in Jersey, dude.
uh-huh.
Before I even get off the plane,
Oh.
before I even get off the plane, it's like a black, like a heavy, thick blanket.
Uh-huh.
As you're flying into
For
North
you.
Carolina, yeah, I could feel it. And then like on certain blocks and like the difference, when I first came to the West Coast, I was hanging out with my homeboy in Compton,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't in tune, right? So like I'm hanging with a blood in the crib,
Uh-huh.
and I just never knew that we were in danger.
Mm.
But on the East Coast, right? I know so I could have my eyes closed. I could feel the danger, right?
Mm.
It's just something there, and there's certain people that you could just feel, and you can kind of see, like, okay, I get it. This isn't the best situation. And even down to some points, knowing exactly what's going to happen because of the type of feel that you get from it. I don't.
I actually also felt like I could be killed at
Yeah,
any moment.
yeah, 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 yeah. This was down in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Yikes! It is, man.
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
wild, but it's good to know, right?
But that feeling, at the same time, although intense it could be, it kind of like, I don't know, makes things moving. You know, makes things,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
things going, because you're like, oh,
Because you're alive all over, right? And you're
yeah, you
having
love
like,
her. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like every cell is having a conversation with you, right? And
yeah.
it's wild.
You feel that in Jersey then? Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to go back to the roots. I mean, where you came from initially could also have an effect like that,
Yeah,
right? That's pretty
yeah.
cool. Uh huh.
So it'd be like down in South America, in some of those countries, like I know one at the top, Guyana, right? You're talking about your homeboy from possibly being from being Guyanese, right? So
Yeah.
there's like a third Indian, a third black, third like Chinese or so. Or maybe my numbers or
Oh,
demographics are
okay.
messed up, but when I went there, that's what I saw. A different vibe, and I think just being over there, like the more relaxed and peaceful vibe, anytime you're in a relaxed state, you can be more aware of these types of energies as well. So that, yeah, I think that'll kick off. But like,
Hey, so you have been to Guyana
oh yeah, yeah,
or
a couple
Jamaica?
times. No, not Jamaica yet. I'm gonna go to Jamaica
I would
probably
like
next
to
year.
visit Jamaica.
Yeah, Jamaica's well. You gotta go with somebody you know.
Yeah, probably. It's also pretty crazy there, right?
Yeah, it could be live. Beautiful people though, man. Great
I
culture.
like
So
the accent. What is it called? Patois.
yeah,
Patois, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of Jamaican friends, man. My
So cool.
boy DJs all the reggae parties and so on. I'm a
I've been
DJ.
to a Sean Paul concert.
Oh yeah, yeah, good run. He had a good run in music for a while. Yeah,
Dude, he
talented.
works, man.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't realize how he's like, verses almost nonstop in his songs. And
yeah,
when he
yeah,
goes on
yeah,
stage, he's like,
yeah. Yeah,
I was like, man, that's a lot of work.
there's a lot of dope reggae artists, man. Like, it used to be a lot more uh, mainstream music here. We used to mix a lot of hip hop and reggae, like the music, and then R&B. Like the music used to change up a lot. Now it's just a lot of the same things. That's why I like the streaming services too, because you can kind of play what you want. But it's wild, man. But yeah, Sean Paul was dope. Um,
What do you think of Lil Wayne?
I think dude has crazy rhymes, and I think his work ethic was unmatched at
I've
one
heard
point.
like he would just sit inside the studio and just be spitting out these tracks
Yeah,
after tracks after tracks, to the point that he doesn't even remember he said
that he
some.
rhymed. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's when I think at his peak in hip hop. That's when I was like, man, this dude he's incredible, on an incredible run right now. Yeah,
And his image is also different from others. I remember the very first I've seen him, the Wheezy F.
yeah.
He like, I remember like he was back in 2010 when I first he was banging out of every single freaking car in Albany. I
Yeah,
remember.
he was doing because he was
Lollipop.
doing mixtapes.
Yeah.
Then he was on the radio at the same time, and then he was doing everybody's features, and he just went on a rampage.
Yeah.
And
It's
it was
just
something to
he was
watch,
like a
man.
storm, took
Yeah,
over everything, right?
yeah.
All of a sudden, just like just a short period, he just like took over everything.
But he was building even before that for
Yeah,
years, right? Because he was with Cash Money. They did the
Mm-hmm.
thing, and then he started the Young Money thing, which was then Nicki Minaj and
Drake. Was Drake affiliated to that?
Drake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Drake too. Yeah, Drake is fresh. Yeah, so.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's it's good to see everybody do that thing, but artistically, like yeah, Lil Wayne was like rhyme wise, he was dope, man. He had a lot of dope rhymes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I listened to Lil Wayne.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. For me though, like you use music for different reasons, and
He's
even at
from
that time.
South, right?
Yeah, New Orleans. Shout out to New
Different
Orleans.
vibes, right?
Yeah. I was out there.
Uh-huh.
I want to say right before the pandemic too. Good experience. My
Why did they
man.
call it Dirty South? Because of the rhymes, or?
Dude, I don't know, man.
Oh, okay.
I went to Texas once to go perform, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
embarrassing. I was like, I had my rhymes, and it was kind of intricate with the rhyme schemes and so on. Like it's a different vibe. So I get on the stage in Texas, right? I'm like, all right, cool. I'm down in San Antonio, um, and yeah, I get on stage and I start start spitting.
Uh-huh.
Right? Big place, yo.
Okay.
Everybody just started leaving. Once they heard my
Oh,
accent,
really?
everybody just started leaving off the stage. I was like, oh, like,
Uh,
yo, where y'all going?
uh,
And so afterwards, I was kind of bummed, like, yo, what the heck? Like, you know what I'm saying? This is dope music. Like, my rhymes are crazy. But then I sat down, and homeboy just came. I don't even know his name. Real good dude. And he was like, I went down there a couple of times, right? I performed, I think Gangsta Boo, who just recently passed, she was there one of the times, and then China White was down there. I was out there for this dude. His name was Official Playboy. Good dude at the time too, man. I hope everybody over there is all right.
mhm.
So anyway, so I sat down. This one guy came up. He was like, "Yo, man, you're too clean. Like we the dirty South. Like we dirty out here. Like
Okay.
yours a little too classy." I was like,
Oh.
"What?" I was like, "What do you mean?"
Okay. Okay.
He was like, "Nah, we like to get real dirty. Like you saying all of these fancy words and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
up out of here. Like, now he wasn't
Ah.
saying it disrespectfully, but
More
like,
raw, right?
yeah, rhymes were raw, but it was just articulated in a way where it's
Oh,
like, you
I
know
see.
what I
So
mean?
you would say like if compared to like East Coast style, East Coast style is more like technical, right? In a way.
Yeah, but
Okay.
now like with
Mm.
like Ludacris or like Scarface, like they you know what I mean? But
Ludacris is also from the South,
he's
right?
from Atlanta, yeah. But
Yeah.
like they
Mm-hmm.
can, he could spit, man, right? Like so
Mm-hmm.
some of these dudes they could really rhyme. Ti could rhyme, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you know they wanted more at the time. It was we saw the hip hop the landscape changing. And so like the Lil Jon movement and all of
Oh,
that,
Lil
like
Jon.
the Yin Yang Twins and like that music was hitting, bro. Like
Mm.
so in the clubs or like I don't really like I can make club music and I did at some point, but um, I'm more into
Yeah. Some lyrics.
like I
Mm.
say like dark nights driving weeded. I proceeded despite exceeding speed limits, heated from a previous fight. Spent my life dreaming, but through its meaning I slept, seeing my own demons screaming. Peep, I'm deeper than death. Examining the words I write, understanding in sight, imagining hell. Is death another level of life? But could it be? Or maybe it's me. I'm zoning. Jealousy got me sleeping with my eyes open. Thought provoking is soul music. Put my soul into it. Foes hoping I lose it. I come close but cool it. Dealing with politicians, a prophet politicking. They preach the gospel, but see they following contradictions. My models keep living, thugging to death. Kind of hostile from the tension, resting, hugging the text. Anyway, it just rhymes like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Those are some of them.
Thought provoking,
Yeah, a
right?
little more,
Mm.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like that was a record we had called like soul music or whatever.
But the
But
Lil Jon's voice, man.
oh man, it gets you
That
hyped.
voice.
What? Right? It just
Mm.
gets you hyped, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm up here spitting my
Mm-hmm.
little, you know what I mean, personal life stories and my thoughts, and they just up there like get low, and the club, just, the beats in the
Yeah.
club just rocking, and it's like, okay, I get it. And
Yeah,
so like,
that dude could rock the crowd, no problem. Just whenever he goes, just go.
yeah,
With the voice, man, that vibration of it, like
oh
the
yeah, and it's that like Tupac, right? It's that touching you or getting you like well, it's different, but
But
like
he's more entertaining, like like the value, like when you hear his voice, you hear the party.
yeah, it's
You know what
that
I'm saying?
vibe, that sound. It's powerful, man.
Yeah,
It's real powerful. Like, so you got people who listen and they do things in different ways. So like for me, that music's cool, but it's normally not my zone,
yeah, I understand.
right? And so like, it's rocking. But if my lifestyle at these times was such that I had to think a lot, right? I had to think a lot
Oh,
because
I
you know what
see,
I
I see.
mean. Like you're moving through different blocks and different streets, and you're interacting with different types of people, and these people are like so cerebral
Navigating.
and they're vicious, and you know what I mean. And so like you're more contemplate, you're thinking, and so it comes out that way. Whereas like some people who don't have those types of situations, you could just let loose in the club and go crazy. But then, like for us, it's like an MOP. And he got that fool right
Yeah,
here, like yeah. So we're
yeah.
always on target. We're always looking.
But there's a MOP and Busta Rhymes, right?
Yeah.
That's some.
MOP, by the way, is like
Uh-huh.
yo, they fantastic. Yeah, and Buster too. Buster had a bunch of hits and
Yeah.
yeah, like creative. You know what I mean? And stylistic.
What about R&B, soul music?
Yeah, R&B.
You dig it?
Yeah, well, yeah, man. It was long history of great.
Even longer than rap, hip hop, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
hip hop just turned to 50 this year,
Yeah.
right? But like R&B, like you go all the way out to the blues and yeah, all of these types of songs have been sung for years, and they just you notice that people used to sing about love a lot.
Yeah.
You know why he sings about love anymore, right? Like it's more like again that three boyfriends. I don't know where I'm sleeping, and it's like
Oh yeah.
so it's like I can't. You know what I mean? It's just in like you see it in movies, you see it in you hear it in the music. There's not a lot of depth to it. So I'm not saying that those artists don't have depth, right? I'm just using a specific example. Like I haven't listened to all of that stuff, so they probably have a bunch of crazy dope stuff. But like, but the depth of some of this stuff, man, it's not relatable to me. So I find it like I can't really watch a movie and just you know what I mean, because it's like there are no relatable characters. You know what I mean? Like it was in music, even if the music out now today. You know, just less because of for me.
Yep.
And the music changes and it shifts, so that's always a good thing too.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good conversation for today. Thanks for your time, man.
Oh, no doubt. I was looking at this. This.
Oh, okay.
You see it?
Yeah,
you probably can't see that. It's like the little rainbow right there.
Okay.
You see it?
If you want to continue, we can take a little pause. I just need to go to a restaurant.
We could wrap it up if you want, man. That's cool. We want some food and shit.
I mean, we had like three and a half hours.
Oh, that's 3.5?
Yeah.
Dang.
Dude,
okay.
That was quick, right?
Yo, man, I appreciate the convo, bro.
Yeah, man.
That was it was good. It was good talk, and thanks for anybody that's listening. I appreciate being able to have this conversation and be a part of your day too.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for your time. Yeah.
All right, man. Peace.
It was fun.
All right.